greatest battle, you need the greatest warriors. But heroes must be forged in ultimate combat, competing for the ultimate prize.
Lori out, dodging out so much damage for the boss, actually gets the trade-off.
AOV India as well. I remember last time we witnessed the dominance of ExDee gaming at the Indian region for Arena of Valor. But now, currently, we're gonna have to witness round 32. I believe the tournament has already been started, has been starting off stream, starting from June 1 from the Valor Cup C3 tournaments in game. So it's gonna be very, very exciting to see how this is gonna pan out.
Exactly, and the teams that will be participating for tonight will be as follows. For match 1, we'll be seeing Unity versus AlphaQ, and for match 2, it's Infamous versus VanQuish. For match 3, it will be CapricieuX versus Potatoes, and match 4, ExDee Gaming versus SPTX. So a lot of you guys might know these teams, so just there in the chat, give a huge holla for our teams.
Yes,
all right, so we'll be seeing our brackets right now. This is our round of 32 brackets, and there you go. Lovely schedule. It's gonna be AlphaQ versus Unity for now.
Yeah, AlphaQ versus Unity. Really, really excited because from what we've heard, from the information that was given to us, they're pretty much all conquerors here for the Unity side, and they have a bunch of tournament experience. And from the teams that we've already rounded up for today's schedule, a bunch of them have tournament experience, but some of them haven't yet. The tournament experience that they have is definitely more on the Valor Cup C3. So I'm really, really looking forward to some of probably maybe upsets here and there. So this is going to be a single elimination best of 3 series. But once we move on to the semifinals and the finals round, it's going to be a best of 5.
Yeah, and like you said, single elimination. And this tournament has an overall prize pool of 5 lakh Indian rupees plus Arena of Valor t-shirts or tees. That's definitely awesome. Once you get your wins all there, and then you get into that high rank or that high tiering or in our bracket, you get yourself some t-shirts to show off your achievements. And as you can see here, the schedules for tonight, and like I said, our first one will be Unity versus AlphaQ. So another thing to start our cast off here, which heroes do you think will be, or rather before that, let's introduce our matchup first. For Unity, we'll be having Blaze as the offlaner. Mage will be Sopranophobia. For the marksman, it's going to be Cold Excalibur. And as for jungler, it's going to be Chaitu, and Observer will be Zed.
There we go. And for AlphaQ, we've got Rhythm, Banerjee, AVX, Zeeb, Hades for the jungler, and for the observer, we've got Shamst 5712. There we go. I just wanted to say the number.
The numbers. It might be like, some coded message.
Maybe it's their birthday, or maybe it means a lot to them.
57. What is that in months?
I don't. I suck at math. I'm not gonna do it on stream. Maybe off stream later. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this matchup because I heard that Team Unity, again, they're all conquerors. They're the stronger team based from their performance in this certain matchup against AlphaQ. But meanwhile, AlphaQ, they really did their best in terms of they're the underdogs in this matchup. I think there's an anime plot going on. You know how the what do you call this? The protagonist gets beaten up and then they rise to the occasion. And here we go. This is the summer championships, and we'll see what's gonna happen.
Yeah. All right. So I kind of want to discuss before we, right after we showed the teams or the players for each team, which heroes are we going to be seeing right now? And I think you want to kind of like, sink your teeth into that. And what version of AOV will these players be actually competing in?
Yeah, I believe, I think Arena Valor India's Twitter page has already teased the version 15. So that would mean they're around version 14 right now, which would mean, I believe, maybe Alice, because I remember when we were watching the Valor series, a couple of teams were actually trying to experiment with all the mage buffs that went around during version 14, and Alice was a very contested pick. Along with that, we do have Wonder Woman, the usual Superman, as well as Max. It's definitely going to be one of the contested picks, but there's also classics perhaps for the observers or the roamers, perhaps maybe an Ormar, maybe a Thane as usual. Yeah, the classic ones that weren't added just recently.
All right, so I was with you guys talking a while ago with the other casters. Will we see in version 14 double marksman compositions or not as much?
I think it was Luxuria that brought it up, or the information that we have received, that perhaps it might be a little bit difficult to pull off, especially that there's a lot of mobility assassins, mobile heavy assassins being up in the roster already for Arena of Valor India. Ryoma is there. There's also a lot of Murad. Yes. Crest is also very, very good. So I assume that maybe one marksman is just going to be enough, and probably two additional squishy targets might be a little bit too risky to pull off.
True. I mean, we have seen before on other tournaments as well that were around version 14 when we casted, like you said, the Valor series, where we saw like a 5-man melee matchup, no marksman at all just diving in at the very start of the game, and then you have yourself the Murad to just, kind of dip into the fight, dip out of it, get a good chunk of damage, and then they just follow up, which is, I think, just goes around that mindset right now. That it's all about the pressure, all about the control of the game, and we might see that now.
Yeah, and the best thing, or one of the things to take note of, is that it's going to be a single ban tournament, so which would leave a lot of things open, a lot of the really strong picks. So it's a matter of where their strengths are going to be. And I think the one thing that I like most about, casting India is that they have this really unique things going around. Like, for example, last time I casted, there was a lot of Yorn picks and Butterfly picks during the early stages of the tournament. And so I'm looking for, now that a lot of things are being added, I kind of wonder what else has changed. So it's like a really evolved sort of meta with a mix of their own style.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be super interesting, like you said. What other heroes do we still have, aside from the Wonder Woman and the Max? Will Teamy be also available for? There you go.
Yeah,
her face does it all.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I believe Teamy is a really good hero. Aside from a very strong engage, it's also good for baiting out commitments from the other committed fights rather, because of being his ultimate, and as well as being able to spike faster just to share that gold, to get that gold passive going for Teamy or whoever is probably the jungler or laner or whatever strategy they choose to do for this tournament. But again, just as I said, only one ban available for each of these teams, 2 bans in total. So this would leave a lot of room for strategy, what type of composition that they want to run. You did mention something about maybe they're going full melee, full dive composition, or maybe that single marksman composition is their play style. Again, anything can happen.
So again, we were kind of emphasizing more on these assassin type of picks, where we were seeing more of the damage heavy type of comps. But to supplement that, what I mean, in your opinion, do you think we'll see in the mage role or in the offlaner role? Will we be seeing some contested picks switch like with the Zenial or the or something? And for the mage, are we going to be seeing a L'Oreal or a Preda, so to speak?
Definitely. Preda is definitely up there. Really, really good. Malak also one of the classic picks for Arena of Valor. I still feel like it's a very, very strong hero to put into your composition. It fits so well in most of the drafts, mainly because the ult is very, very good in terms of engaging as well as escape, a good side laner as well.
Yeah. And while we are still waiting for our teams to kind of like start up the lobby, and just wanted to give you a little bit of a let's say like a little bit of a background. I think Rico already brushed up upon this with Unity being one of the top teams that performed previously in Valor Cup C3, but to get here for our summer championship, Unity actually did Extreme Gaming with a clean 2-0 sweep, and their opponents for tonight, AlphaQ, were also able to defeat Love This Game with a clean 2-0 sweep. So both of these teams just coming in with some, I guess, some really, how do you say this? Like, you know, just a dominant matchup. So it's gonna be very, how do you say this? Interesting. I keep saying interesting. The word. I don't have a say.
I think one thing to note as well, since you mentioned how most of the information that we got this series are ending up in 2-0s, could it be a trend here for day number 1 until the semifinals? And I wonder, adding these new heroes in, is it really going to shorten the game time as well?
We'll just have to see. Anyways, as we have done all of that pre-talk, let's go straight into the draft for game number 1 in this best of 3 as AlphaQ goes up against Unity. Gotta remember again, guys, that this is a single ban match. So we'll be seeing only the 1 bans come out. Zephys will be the first one to be off table, and Murad, like we were talking about a while ago, also off the table.
So much respect for the jungle bans here for both of these teams. But look at that, Wonder Woman is open and Superman. So these are really 2 strong picks, but they decide to not pick it at all and decide for the Morin and Batman. Batman, we've seen it in other regions as well, but it's more like a surprise pick and not necessarily something that you pick during our first rotation. But I guess they did change their mind. They're just teasing us a little bit. It's gonna be the Ryoma and the Superman.
Ryoma and Superman. I have seen before that Superman is basically a one superhero game changer. From DC comic movies or animations to Arena of Valor, he is still the Man of Steel, and this guy is definitely something to watch out from. He can basically push everybody into a certain position where you want to go. And it looks like the supplement that Unity is hovering over a Raz on the other side, AlphaQ, with the Zenial and the Killmon.
Kilgrog.
Why did I say Killmon?
Well, he does try to snowball and stuff.
That is true.
But he is a Killmonger, I suppose. But from the side of AlphaQ, they do have a lot of power picks here. Violet and Kilgrog, really strong late game heroes. And it's going to be really scary. And an additional here that all up, the CC Sayao-chan and Alice being the last pick. I am totally surprised by how the draft went, but I'm still pretty happy.
Yeah. But from my experience, we've only seen Sayao-chan picked way back before. If you kind of want to go, or if you're gonna go up against a composition that has a lot of control or has a lot of melee heroes, and looking from that perspective, Unity kind of like went with a lot of them. So the Ao-chan might be able to just like be able to root everybody, put them in place, and give lots of time for their other members to kind of like, you know, position around that. And having or going up against a Superman might be something that you don't want to, you know, let them set up. So Yao-chan might be a really good answer.
Yeah, and just take note, Superman has the ability to remove crowd control as well and try to catch people off guard. A good flank from Superman can immediately try to burst down these squishy targets.
Exactly.
Violet, Kilgroth, Diao-chan, Lumber could probably try to set up for a good combo with Diao-chan, and everybody else that will deal the damage, which is, you know, the Violet and the Kilgroth pick. But at the same time, these heroes take a while to ramp up in terms of damage, especially Kilgroth. If you put Kilgroth on the side lane and the opposite team recognizes that, okay, you know, they might bank on the Kilgroth this time around, then perhaps, you know, the pressure that they may apply during the early phases of the game might, you know, might stop the growth of Kilgroth or slow it down. Rather.
Yeah, and that's where your Superman and Ryoma, I think, comes in handy, because I feel like Ryoma doesn't really need that much to actually start rolling. I mean, he can benefit from that, but he still will be able to get some pretty nice pokes in, and with the help from Superman, you're going to be able to at least lock someone down, or at least put them in a position where Ryoma can just tumble in and get all of that, you know, all of that damage rolling. And yeah, it's going to be, again, very interesting to see this, because again, or rather for me, I came from, you know, seeing the meta from the Philippines, and we see these type of picks rather very scarce, you know, and now here in India, starting it off, it's going to be very curious, there you go, to kind of like see this matchup unfold.
Yeah, I'm also particularly interested to the Raz pick as well. Let's see how they execute.
All right, speaking of how to execute this, I'm going to be passing it on to Riku here, and I request a duel for the casting. So guys, take it away.
Hello, and thank you for that introduction. And it's good to be here back in Arena of Valor. Alongside with me, I've obviously got Riku, and after that draft, really seeing AlphaQ and Unity going through that, there were a lot of picks that, well, I think the order we saw the picks in also came out as a bit of a surprise, but overall both teams got some quite strong picks through. I think for AlphaQ, they've got that CC strong on their team, as well as just overall nice balance, whereas Unity is more, they have these key members that hold it together. At least that's how I'm seeing it here, but what's your say on this?
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. Unity, I feel like they, in terms of flexibility, they do have the roaming potential. I feel like if they have that early lead, they will constantly pressure the jungle, which is what they're doing right now.
Yeah, we can see that there. Lumber possibly getting caught out in a 1v3 situation, but there's going to be the Kilgroth on the backline, could trade out for the Raz, and he's going to get caught out by the Zenio, but manages to get away. There's just back and forth action here as the rest of Unity coming in for the support, pushing them back, and you really talk about that roaming potential, and it's happening here in the early game. The three-man team roaming that we can see between them, and they're just keeping Zenio separated, keeping the pressure on, and that's some early game aggression being showed by Unity. So if that continues to go in that fashion, Unity might be able to get control of this game and start to snowball. But we'll have to see, as there's going to be the charge into the wall. Zenio able to jump out, but I think, oh no, I spoke too soon. He's going to get taken down for the first blood.
Yeah, this is the reason why you pick Superman or you ban Batman. But I guess AlphaQ had the priority on the Violet. They do believe that, you know, their late game or their mid game could save the day. But at this point, Seniel might have a bit of trouble here. Good job, by the way. But at this point, looks like a fight is about to start.
Yep, Superman jumping in there to initiate, and you about how strong he is as he's able to go in under turret, tank it, pick up the kill secure, and they back out, taking jungle on their way. Not only that, prior to this fight, they actually stopped the side of AlphaQ from going into that Abyssal Dragon and trying to sneak their way while they were busy up at the top. So great rotations overall, great macro play, and they're going to catch out another kill. It's going to be Ryoma onto that Lumber. And right now, 0-3 for Unity opens up a great window for them to stop the Abyssal Dragon up themselves.
Yeah, they're so heavily rewarded. Despite, you know, let's sacrifice the experience of the Alice. It's okay, we don't need the hissy fit for now. But look at that, Ryoma is already level 6 alongside Morin, and they just need those power picks, the power damagers of their team. And they're going to rely on that, as Superman is just going to be super explosive at this point, creating, I think he can just pretty much solo kill one of the squishies, especially Violet and Diao-chan. So at this point, AlphaQ should really be careful.
Yeah, it definitely would be the call there, but as you said, if they're caught out alone, any of the squishy members of AlphaQ, that's such a tough situation for them to get out of without CC. I think that's where they had that one positive, that if they stick together as a team and they can chain CC, they might be able to then get the man advantage. But right now it's going to be on to whether Unity, how they play so far with their rotations have been pretty well, and where they're putting the pressure, because we can see up in the top lane, it looks like they want to harass more that Zenio with the Superman and Morin pick. They just push him back further and further. He can't get to the safety of the tower. Superman's just bullying him at this point. No, you are not going home. You are coming back with me to my place tonight.
Oh, good one there. Oh my. I've seen this Superman play before, trying to shove you back to your own tower at GCS. It's super classic, but at the same time, it's one of the classic Superman plays, and I believe this is a best of 3 series, and you know, AlphaQ can still either get the Superman or ban the Superman. It's so difficult because I did mention before about the 3-man squads or the 3-man rotations, 2-man rotations. Superman just meshes well with everybody. He can set it up as long as he has a damage dealer with him, or if they're too far behind, then he can just practically solo kill.
Okay, it looks like this time AlphaQ trying to put the pressure on. They do have the man advantage for now, but I'm not sure if that's a fight they really want to go for. Instead, they're just trying to scare Unity out of their jungle at this point. But look at the top lane, just the bullying, the harass that the Zennial's taking it. It's so tough, and they see it as the easiest lane, because all the meanwhile they just leave Ryoma in the bot lane, as we see, to be there on his own, soloing the Violet. And they're going to be up to get that first tower for themselves. It looks like there's a bit of a mix-up going in the bot side of the jungle, but I think they'll be fine. They're even pushing away the Kilgraf back to his tower. Some good rotations there by both the Morin and the Alice, and it's this fully roaming team that's going on, and it's really working well for the side of Unity. They're playing their comp how it should be played.
Exactly. They're doing everything right here at Unity. The thing is, we did mention how it's a very wombo combo set-centric composition for AlphaQ. And it's so hard to execute when in the laning phase you're just constantly being pressured with Unity all over the map, just getting the kills and then getting all the objectives, not leaving you room to breathe at all. And as you can see, Kilgraf is one of the main damage dealers for the side of AlphaQ, and they're just giving him a hard time, even giving the lane to him instead of Violet, just to defend and try to defend mid. But Superman here, Blaze, is super duper keeping up the pressure.
Yeah, and you can see Roma picking up another kill for South by Sway's picked up 6 of maybe these 8 total kills, and that's another thing that just works so well for the Unity team comp, that although they stick together in other parts, but I might have to hold that there. Superman pushing back the DL Chan. Raz picks up the kill. They're going in deeper to pick up the second kill, and they're going to even trade out. Raz went a bit too deep, so that's a plus side for Alpha. The first kill they can get on the board. However, they're going to lose that tier 2 mid tower, and it looks like they're going to lose the tier 2 bottom tower as well, so they're just left standing with that high ground. And you can see they're being a bit too actually maybe not so aggressive, as Alice is able to sustain that damage. But I was talking about that Roma pick, how he's able to sustain so well on his own that he's been able to push the bot lane while they put pressure in top, and now it's just opening up windows for possible objectives as Roma backing out of that fight, at least towards his teammates. Looks like they'll go for the re-engage onto Kilgraf, but he dashes out there to safety. We can see that they're holding their ground for now. Alice is going low. They need to be careful, but the knock-up coming through. Raz is going to be able to pick up the kill onto Zenio, and soon it's going to be the Lumber to follow, and they get the double kill. They even take out one more, and this high ground tower won't be standing for much longer.
I understand the mindset there for AlphaQ. It was a 4v5 situation. A couple of members are so low already, but they're behind in 10 for 10k gold, and everything's practically so squishy.
And this is Unity finishing the first game of today out in 8 minutes and 50 seconds. What a fashion, 1-15, and just they got going and they kept going. So the question there that I'll leave standing with you and Asura is really what could have AlphaQ done into that team comp?
Yeah, actually, I'm not. I guess it's the laning phase that really killed them. Kilgrath being in the jungle, I'm not saying it's bad, but it's one of those things where, okay, your power play is with the Kilgrath. Aside from the Violet, let's constantly try to invade and slow his growth down. And I think that's what happened there. So I'm really, really curious what kind of adjustment of drafting for AlphaQ.
All right, so now it's my turn to talk to Riku again. So yeah, sorry for that. I requested goal. Just kidding. That was a quick game. I know that in Arena of Valor, we're going to be seeing games expand from 10 minutes to 15 minutes. That's the possible average game time. 20 minutes, it's like super late game. But with this first match, it just felt like AlphaQ was disoriented. Like they had a composition that on paper looked really good, encountering all of these bruisers, all of these quick catch heroes from Unity, but I felt like Unity was just too fast.
Yeah, they were very fast, and a lot of the heroes, if you combine them, either 2 squads or 3 squads, they mesh really well. They complete each other. But for the side of AlphaQ, they're very 5v5 centric, and normally the early phases of the game of Arena of Valor relies on 2 to 3 people on the map and trying to invade and trying to steal buffs. So when you rely on that 5-man squad to wombo combo, it's not going to end well. It's going to be a slow pace. It's probably going to work if the team would also become passive, but Arena of Valor is level 4, let's go. Let's rock and roll.
It doesn't gift you or kind of reward you if you be passive, in the earlier stages, because it's just that fast of a game. I mean, if you're not able to set the tempo early, you basically lose everything in the late game. And I mean, from what it looks like, they were kind of holding off these fights, these skirmishes. They were trying to kind of delay the game. Maybe as we reach level 15 minutes in, you're going to be seeing the Violet start to have her items, start to have some damage, but it never really happened. You saw that they were always going for that 4-1 split, but Alice the Violet couldn't really find that free space because Unity just was okay with it. They have the Ryoma keeping an eye on that Violet always. If she tries to go overly extended, he's going to be there. And that is kind of like just halted her from making anything happen around the map, or at least getting her some items for herself.
Yeah, and you also have to count the of the squad if it's going to be a very counter draft towards the playstyle of Unity, but it seems that it wasn't really. It was definitely something. We reach level 4, that's the time we could shine. Maybe if they could have contested an Abyssal Dragon that make it a 5v5 team fight, that could have happened. They had the Sentinel for their team composition, but because of the aggression of Team Unity, they know the win conditions of AlphaQ, so they didn't really give them any chance during. It's a bit savage, but on paper, it seemed that it was the win condition of Unity. Just keep going, not let them be together as a 5-man squad.
Yeah, and I mean, aside from all of that win condition spiraling on their heads, the other biggest thing that I saw here was, or rather not really the biggest thing, but a slight spotting there was that you saw Zenial go 2v1 against Superman and Raz. And you'd think that, this guy, Zenial, he's the baddest of the bad. He can absorb as much damage as possible. But like within 2 seconds, he basically just went up to heaven and went back to the respawn of AlphaQ. And
he's an angel.
He is an angel, but I mean, I don't think he wants to go high and above that quickly, especially when his team needs to be the vanguard here. So, I mean, with all of this information in hand, and with Unity looking to be on the forefront of this one, this is a best-of-3 single elimination. The next match could be the last for AlphaQ, so let's get straight into the draft.
Yeah, I really want to see them adjust with this Superman pick, because I think it's going to be less of a headache if they pick it for themselves or just count it straight out. I'd rather probably deal with the Zephys jungle rather than deal with a Superman observer, I suppose. But let's see what AlphaQ decides to do at this point. They could ban out the Zephys again, or just ban out the Superman, which they will do. They, Cold, Excalibur, or rather Unity, could first pick Zephys if they want to, which they will, understandable. But I feel like AlphaQ can get the Alice for themselves. Alice is also a very huge problem because it enables the early game roams. That Sunshine and Friendship is just a good pre-level 4 roam material.
Oh, there's the Yorn like you were talking about, and a Crash to boot. So you got yourself a lot of, let's say, long-range control and poke coming in from these two. Unity will be the ones now to use the Diao-Chan. We haven't seen this really be effectively implemented by AlphaQ on the previous game, but I mean, I feel like Diao-Chan is just one of those heroes where it's very niche in the India scene, but I'm not really sure how it's going to be coming out. And the crack, the Hookman, it's kind of also an update, or at least a extra info for you guys that we won't be seeing Chognar yet here in our tournament. So if you're thinking, why are we only seeing the Alice and the Lumbar? Are we supposed to see, the big bad truck man? Possibly no. And we'll be seeing Alistair.
Alistair, a really interesting pick. Good against assassins, as you can just immediately try to lock them down if you don't get CC'd first. If you can feel the engage coming in, then you can anticipate which target to prioritize, and at least it might be an instant 4v5. Xanis, I don't see that much. Yorn as well. But I do believe some of the pro players see Yorn as a good pick in some way, whereas you don't necessarily need as much to rush the attack speed items, because you do have an innate barrage of arrows.
I am curious to see how it's gonna mesh in there. And did I see a last pick Scud?
Scud, yeah, it was a Scud. Like, I'm seeing a lot of really interesting, that's your word, interesting things. Very
mysterious picks.
Yeah, I'm really curious how this for Team Unity, especially that they already got the Diao-Chan as well on their side. A lot of heavy CCs as usual, AoE CCs more importantly, but I do like the Alice pick for AlphaQ, and I truly believe it's going to shift up their strategies this time around, and I'm going to expect a lot of heavy roaming, pre-level 4 most especially.
Yeah, although the longer this game progresses, it feels like it might be a leaning towards the Unity roster, just because they do have looks to be a much more scaling type of composition. I felt like even if you look at the comp for AlphaQ, it doesn't seem as late game-esque, So I'm kind of worried if they're going to be able to push this into the later stages, or if they have this certain composition to actually fight in the early game. Because I haven't really seen Scud that much, so I actually can't remember what he does specifically. But again, the Diao-Chan is a good contest on certain types of heroes, especially melee ones. But she kind of needs to position herself well, because I believe that there is some wind-up time to her skills when you use it.
Wind-up time. I think Diao-Chan also does the death rush strategy, where she just hides in the brush. But you know what? I'm really excited for the next match.
All right, so speaking of the next match, it's going to be Riku and I Request a Duel once again. So guys, you know what to do.
Yeah, thank you for that. And we're back here into match number 2. Unity were the ones to take home the first, and let's see if they can take home the win overall. I'm here alongside Riku once again, and thank you, Asarai, for that pre-post game analysis. But how are you feeling when looking at these teams' balances going in this time? Do you think that AlphaQ might stand a better chance?
For me, the Yorn pick was something that could be replaced with something else, but it's probably, maybe they believe in the Yorn pick. Yorn is not necessarily weak, but the lack of mobility, the sacrifice on that flicker skill instead of something else is probably something that they should consider. But you know what? Maybe they have their own strategy. They do have the Alice for the early game rotations, Alistair for the lockdown, but all of these squishies do not have innate mobility. They will rely on their flicker. So especially that these guys are their main damage dealers aside from the Xanis pick. So it's going to be a little bit tricky trying to protect them from the dangers, especially we have the Tel-Anas with the humongous range and the Zephys for the death from above. Oh, there's an engage.
Lumber getting caught out early, pulled back in by the Grag, and that's going to be first blood for the side of Unity, and they're going to go in to finish off that of the Zephyrs to get the second kill as well. It looks like we're going to have a bit of a pause from AlphaQ. They weren't expecting that. They were like, oh my god, they're in our jungle. They just got first 2 kills. Maybe we need to think about something. Perhaps that's the idea there, or could be some technical issues. But while we're in this pause, I think it's a good time to really look at, well, as opposed to the last game, I think AlphaQ had this team comp where they would have been really well off into the mid-late game stages, but they never got a chance to get there. And now looking at least AlphaQ's side, I really like the Crash pickup. I think that's going to be great engage alongside the Lumber. As you mentioned, they got a lot of CC, and the damage dealing is really going to be on the shoulders of that Zephyrus and Yawn. But we are going to hop right back into the action here and see how it unfolds.
Yeah, it's amazing how Unity, when they reach their level 2 or level 3, they immediately, or level 2 most importantly, they complete their skill sets, they complete their combos, and that's the moment they become aggressive. They really completely ruin AlphaQ's jungle rotation, and that would mean it's so hard for them to recover. Not only jungle rotation, they remove or try to disorient the support, or rather the observer's rotation as well. So which would mean not enabling the side lanes or the mid lane to have the kills that they need, especially with a roaming Grak on their side.
Oh, what a hook from that Grak, speaking of, and they maybe, possibly, going to let it go and not finish off the kill, just taunting him, just teasing with him. I don't think they expected that. I'm pretty sure they figured they'd be able to finish off the kill onto the ally still, but it doesn't matter. They catch up with Crash. He's going to go into the Metamorphosis, trying to back off that ZB on the run. Shomps under the turret, trying to save him, is able to put down some CC, and we see Crash jumping in under for safety, but it looks like Zephyrus needs to be careful on that backline, but they're just going to go right on in under the tower, and they are going to pick up that kill for themselves. Meanwhile, we do see that of, I believe it's Zephyrus, my bad, I was saying on Unity's side is going to be going in Xanis on that of AlphaQ's side, and they're trading out some big damage there. Looks like Excalibur could go down, but he's not going to go down without a fight. Picks up Banjari. And Shom's getting caught in the action, and he's going to get taken down in the 1v2 situation. Unity, as you said, playing aggressive as ever, already picked up that first Abyssal Dragon right after that pause, and have moved on to follow up with a few kills and objectives as they're looking here for the top tower, but not going to pick up. But that's going to be the replay of what just happened.
Wow, I really thought that, you know, Excalibur was about to fall there, because that's 2 members jumping in, but it's not going to be enough because they're not even level 4 just yet. Only the Alistair was level 4 around that time, so which means key ultimates from the Lumber is not going to be present in a skirmish, and that's super important to set up team fights or try to set a disengage from an aggressive Unity, and they will constantly do this as the game goes by.
And we see another 3-man rotation into the topside jungle of AlphaQ. They're going in deep under the tower. Lumber is low. Blaze going on the chase, trying to pick it up. He gets the kill, and they've locked down that of, I believe, Ethan Hugh. He's gone within a second, and this rotation and aggression coming out between the Dalchan, Scud, and I believe that would be the Grak. The Grak is just, I think that's such a key part of it, making sure no one escapes those hooks. For the most part, have been on point, but we do see a miss one there. Meanwhile, in the bot, there's going to be a bit of a trade out there, and Sion actually going to pick up a kill for himself, but Tawanis did come along to pick up a kill onto Yawn. So it opens up a window for them to at least push the bot lane right now. But that's not what they should be worried about. As Retan Boundary getting caught out once again and not in a very good position. And that's just, once again, this 3-man rotation working out so well. They take Dalchan from the mid lane to go and roam. And the CC there is just working out well. It's a bit of a difference to what we saw previously. Instead of positioning CC, it's more rooting and stunning, as well as team effort. So it's a bit of a slower game so far, but nonetheless, Unity still in charge.
Yeah, super dominating. As you can see, Ethan might fall, and he will, as 4 members just clumped up all together here on the mid lane with the Abyssal Dragon already spawned. Shom might be in trouble here. He dashed towards to danger, and he's gonna suffer.
Yeah, it goes in and tries to aggress that with no follow-up damage coming out from the side of AlphaQ, and you can see as soon as Banjari jumps in, he's like, well, they're low health, I'm full health. Math, quick math, I should win, but he doesn't. He's instead going to lose that second tower. Meanwhile, we do see that of Zed and I'm not so sure how to say this. Chai TV able to pick up that Abyssal Dragon. This might be a kill going over to Kresh if he's able to land the CC and follow-up damage, but no, it's going to be Scud just walking on out of there. But Zephyr's looking for the fight. You don't want to go into a 1v3. You will be punished for that. So Unity, they are getting punished for their mistakes, and I think that's the only chance AlphaQ at this point has to really get back into the game. Like right now, as we see that Grak's gone a bit too deep on his own, but Dalchan supporting over the wall, able to get the root down and the stun, and they're going to get knocked up. However, needs to be careful, Grak, with the ultimate and pulling them all in. Chomp's going to be the first to fall, and they continue on following down with Ethan Hugh. He's trying to make the escape, gets caught under the tower, and yeah, it's just an unstoppable force when they work together as a team.
Yeah, exactly. Cypranophobia has really good wave clear. With no waves to protect you from the hook of the Grak, then immediately you might have to give up a turret. The constant pressure that Unity has been doing for the past few minutes of the game is just creating a lot of, experience gap, and they're forced, and AlphaQ is just forced to deal with all of these things without giving time for themselves to breathe, for them to soak up experience, to farm all the lanes and the jungle. It's so difficult.
ZB, the first to fall, that's going to be Kresh going down, and look how low Zed is, gets out of there, going for the back. Yawn just barely misses that ult, and luckily he's going to be able to get to safety, but not so lucky for AlphaQ, as Yawn just deleted within an instant in his own base under his tower. But it does not matter to Unity as they dive in there to pick up the kill onto the Lumber, following up with that of Ethan Hugh on the Xanis, and that's going to be right now they don't have the minion wave, so that's a bit of a problem for them. Looks like maybe ZB has gone AFK, maybe having some issues. Nope, he's back in the fight and needs to be, rightfully so, because I think his team needs to rely on that so much for engage there from the Kresh with the Metamorphosis, but he misses, does it backwards, and that opens up for Unity to get into the base of AlphaQ. We're 8 minutes 35 in, looking like a similar finish time if they're able to win out this team fight, but AlphaQ won't go down without a fight. They're going to be able to go in all in right now, picking up the Tawanas, looking for more, but look at how low Grak gets out once again, so tanky at this point. Meanwhile, Diao-chan on the backline, able to put down the CC and trade out even when getting dived upon. She's just gone so far ahead, that level 12, 2-level advantage to pretty much everyone on the side of AlphaQ, but they're not done yet, as there's going to be the Zephys joining in and trying to finish off the kill, and he is able to pick that one up. So right now, Unity looked like they could close out the game, especially with the respawn timers on the side of AlphaQ. But they're playing it safe. They're backed off here. Maybe go for another dragon, or do you think they're going to gather together and go for that team fight? Maybe even go for the Dark Slayer.
Perhaps. I think that's one of the safest choices at the moment, because if it's too risky to try to dive in, I mean, they actually suffered a little bit of damage there from the engage. They were a little bit too greedy. Cypranophobia didn't have any mana anymore to actually try and clear out the waves and maybe finish down the core. There's still a potential, the Lumber CC really helped out, try to secure and scare a few members away from Unity, but they were a little bit too overextended, and they managed to clear out a few members, scare out a few members. But then again, Zephys was there already in time, has respawned. Darkslayer is definitely going to be available here to be taken down for Unity side. So I'm really curious what they're going to do this time around, because there were so many instances where Darkslayer is open, but they still decide to just push. You know what, we could just try to finish the game, try to clear down the waves. There's the CC, and Shams is going to get pulled back. Lots of heals being popped by the side of AlphaQ, but Ethan Hugh is so low.
Yeah, gets jumped on in the backline by Excalibur, and it looks like they're going onto the core. Excalibur going low. He is going to fall, and they need to be careful now as they are taking a fair amount of damage from Yorn, the last one standing, but doesn't matter in the healing sanctuary. Gonna get taken down, and Unity had the confidence to just go in for that team fight and finish it all off. Made some risky plays here and there, but I think that was because of the lead they knew, were confident of and knew they had secured for themselves. They didn't even think about the Dark Slayer, just looking to finish this one out as quick as possible. But that is game number 2, also going over to Unity in a 2-0 fashion. So GG, well played to them.
Definitely. They Unity played that so clean, even though they didn't really pick out the meta picks. They were just so comfy, knowing the fact that once they reach their level 2, level 3, they're going to go all in into the jungle, try to make picks, increase the experience gap between, you know, Unity and Q, and it just well for them.
So clean and so good. That was basically Unity wiping the slate clean, or the floor clean with AlphaQ. And I mean, from the looks of it, like just at the start of the game, you thought that AlphaQ would be in a much more safer situation,
yes,
because they had all of these long range, keep yourself away from me type of heroes, you know. But then you know what, you know what, we're gonna have a Grok. We're gonna have to pull you in, and to add to that, Diaochan needs time to set up her skill set, right?
Yes.
The Grok can actually do that with his pull and ultimate to suck everybody in, while Diaochan just, you know, in the wise words of Iroquest, I'm not sure if he actually caught up into this. He said let it go while Diaochan was using her, you know, frozen skills.
I completely missed that. I just remember something about steal your whatever. Never mind.
To steal your
to what we were discussing, yeah, the Grak and the Diaochan combo just works really well because they work hand in hand. Diaochan for the wave clear, Grak if the enemy is under a turret, then perhaps I just need the wave clear, then I'm going to try to hook you in. Or you could add the CC, which was the thing that Asteroid just mentioned. Go for the CC for Diaochan, and then I'll hook you in, and then I'll keep you within our grounds with the ultimate. Very good wombo combo. Again, it's all about assembling your mini squads during the early phases of the game so that they mesh well when you try to make your rotations and try to make your picks. So either you try to gank a lane or try to invade a jungle, you have to make sure that these sets of skills mesh well. Pre-level 4, super important. When level 4 comes, that's when your spike happens, and most of these things are super important when you try to make these 5v5 team fights happen. But most of the time, it only occurs when it's in the later phases of the game. Normally, you get a pick first, and then you pursue Abyssal Dragon, and that's why we don't see 5v5 team fights during the first 5 minutes of the game. It's all about your 2 or 3 man squads, try to make a pick, and then go for objectives.
Yeah, and again, this all just goes back to the speed of how Arena of Valor is played. You can't allow yourself to wait in the later stages and to think and feel that maybe, you know, we're gonna, you know, bank on the fact that we have a late game composition, a possible late game composition, and kind of like wish that we have 5 versus 5, because they had the Grok, because I think was that like a second, third pick Grok, they could have at least went for something that might have at least let them go for a 4-1 split. I mean, they had the Xanis or maybe even the Crush, but at a certain point, it looked like the Crush was more of the support Crush role, where he was just trying to, you know, go for that peel.
Yeah.
Didn't really see his itemizations there. And for the Xanis, he was just running around. Yeah, it was just running around like a chicken, a headless chicken.
It's mainly because of the aggressive jungle invades that you know Unity has been doing. And actually, it's funny how I mentioned during the second match, I said I'm happy because they picked the Alice, and then when the game came in, there was no Alice at all. It was just the Lumber instead, and the Lumber didn't reach the level 4 spike until I don't know 5 minutes, 6 minutes in, because of the constant rotation, macro aggressive rotation from the side of Unity, which would take off a lot of, you know, appeal and as well as disengage from the side of, and setup as well from the side of Unity. But you know what? It's congratulations to Unity for moving on to the next round.
Yeah. I mean, Unity definitely united in that one, able to beat AlphaQ, and that covers our first best of 3 here, ladies and gentlemen. And for the next one, we'll be seeing the match between Infamous and VanQuish. So yeah, we're just gonna be talking a bit more about, you know, what we might see with these other teams come.
Yeah, the thing is, it's so, like, we already mentioned the top picks, and we were really surprised to see the drafting between our very first series, which is between AlphaQ and Unity.
Yeah.
And we didn't expect, you know, probably maybe more in, but there were certain picks that we wanted to see. For example, Wonder Woman, perhaps Prada, and as well as Mala, like the really the classic classic meta picks. But then again, one of the things that I really like about the AOV Indian scene is because they combine meta and then their own, you know, own personal style, which is their favorite heroes, and that's the best thing, because you learn about certain combinations. Again, Grak and Diao-chan, that's something that perhaps we might see in this tournament. Again, we're just at round 32 from 64 teams, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
We have 4 days of AOV casting for us, it's every night.
What are you looking
I
at?
was trying to see if it's nighttime here, and it's nighttime.
Okay,
Every night for us. Not sure, I think close to night for those who are watching from India. I'm not sure about the other regions who are also tuning in to our broadcast. But yeah, so we'll be having 4 straight days of Arena of Valor India Summer Championship with an overall prize pool again of 5 lakh rupees plus AOV t-shirts.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Some awesome AOV official swag. So yeah, they're fighting, aside from bragging rights, of course, that's what they're fighting for as well for this summer championships. It's super duper important. It's also a learning process as well.
Yeah.
You get to practice not only your strategies, not only your teamwork, but also your mental fortitude, because this is a constant single elimination best of 3 series. And then when we move on to the semifinals and the finals, then it's going to be a best of 5. So there's a lot that could happen. I mean, I was reading through the information that was shared with us, and there were a couple of teams that managed to come back and beat and do, what do you call this, and do unexpected things, beat one of the strongest teams in the Valor C3. So we'll have to see.
We'll have to see. I'm still curious. I'm still like wondering, like, all of these notes that I'm putting in right now, what else can I put here that I haven't seen from any other regions that India can bring to the table? So we'll be going for a very short break, around 10 minutes, and when we get back, the second match between Infamous and VanQuish. Again, my name is Astrid, of course, right now is Riku, and we'll be just taking a short break.
Hey guys, the hero we are introducing today is Lu Bu, the Great Warlord. Lu Bu is a melee fighter with insane damage, making him a powerful killing machine in battles. Let's first look at his second skill, Impale. Lu Bu uses his halberd to unleash a shockwave at enemies in front, causing damage and slowing their movement speed. Impale is an AoE skill that allows all enemies in range, allowing Lu Bu to easily catch up and finish the enemies. Passive, Martial Master. Whenever Lu Bu hits an enemy with a skill or normal attack, the cooldown for Impale is reduced by 1 second. This passive enables Lu Bu to constantly deal damage and slow the enemies using Impale. First skill, Red Stallion. Lu Bu lunges forward and deals damage to all enemies hit. The skill can be discharged 3 times in a short period, with the third attack applying a knock-up effect. Lu Bu can use Red Stallion to sweep among enemies in team fights. However, the skill cannot be used to dash through walls. Ultimate Conqueror. Lu Bu is empowered with Battle Rage, which greatly boosts his physical attack and tenacity. In addition, skills and normal attack are granted with Life Steal effect. The buff lasts for 8 seconds. allowing Lu Bu to unload tons of damage in battles. To maximize damage, use Impale first to slow the enemy and deal some initial damage. Activate Conqueror and use Red Stallion to charge onto the enemy. With Martial Master, Lu Bu is able to slow the enemy with constantly refreshed Impale, thereby completing the kill. During team fights, use Red Stallion and normal attacks to reduce the cooldown of Impale and continually slow the enemies with Impale. Activate Conqueror when Lu Bu is low on health for the exceptional lifesteal and damage. Of course, Lu Bu can also disengage from battles using Red Stallion. Overall, Lu Bu is a strong warrior with exceptional damage, which allows him to lead the team towards victory. Thanks for watching today's episode on Lu Bu. We'll see you next time. Makes to victory with this charge. Hi everyone, this episode I would like to introduce Stone Giant Lumber. Lumber is a type of tank hero who is good at assisting his friends. In battle, his skills often carry special, unique effects with them, which allow him to bring a lot of potential power into play. Passive, Protect. Lumber, by nature, wants to protect the weak. So those heroes nearby, most lacking in health, will get protective armor and anti-demonic resistance protections from being near him. This skill has quite a large area of effect, therefore it is able to protect teammates from dying in the nick of time during combat, enabling them to slay their opponents. First ability, Shattered Earth. Lumber hurls his fists at the ground, which immediately sends up a hail of stones. Heroes struck by the stones will be weakened for 3 seconds as their attack and magical damage gets reduced. This is an area of effect skill that can weaken enemy damage and mass while effectively protecting friendly heroes. Skill 2, Rampage. Lumber will charge ahead, sending all enemies in his path flying. Enemies will suffer a 1-second slowdown effect after landing back to the ground. This is Lumber's core team battle opener. Not only can it effectively pin down opponents, but it can also provide a shield to teammates in his path and raise the speed at which he moves. Lumber will often lead his teammates to victory with this charge. Ultimate, Earth Splitter. Lumber smashes the ground with all his strength, sending enemies in the area flying. Enemies will continue to suffer damage and a slowing effect for 5 seconds as the ground is fissured. This is a relatively large area of effect skill. The slowdown and sustained damage it causes can help teammates inflict damage more securely so they can deliver major damage to their opponents. Lumber can use his second skill to send enemies flying, and his first to deal damage as they try to escape alongside his teammates in combat. Of course, his second skill can allow him to break through a wall of opponents more easily and more better escape the battlefield when circumstances turn against him. In team battles, Lumber will normally use his ultimate to send enemies flying and then charge forward with his second skill, which will work well with teammates to take out opponents with the continuous damage. Lumber can also use his second skill to send enemies flying and work alongside teammates to clean up the battlefield with his other abilities. In sum, Lumber possesses very powerful survival skills and the skill to disable his opponents. This makes him very effective at protecting teammates and for coordinating victory with them. Thanks for watching today's Hero Spotlight of Lumber. See you next time. Hey guys, the hero we are introducing today is Zephys, the Doom Spear. Zephys is a melee fighter and carry that deals massive AoE damage to his foes. Depending on the team composition, Zephys can be either an assassin or a tank. Let's first take a look at his passive, Unwavering Death. Every 3% of HP lost grants 1% damage reduction. In other words, Zephys takes less damage with lower health. With the maximum of 33% damage reduction, Zephys can easily get out of combat alive, nuking the opposing carries down. First ability, Death's Rift. Zephys lunges forward, dealing physical damage to enemies along the path. His next normal attack deals additional physical damage and reduces the enemy's movement speed. Death's Rift is the core ability that grants Zephys his mobility in ganks and teamfights and should be maxed first. Notice that Death's Rift can reset Zephys' normal attack. Therefore, use Death's Rift between normal attacks for maximum damage. The skill can also be used to dash through walls, making Zephys an effective jungler and ganker. Second ability, Death's Flurry. Zephys unleashes a series of rapid attacks, dealing physical damage with each attack to the enemies in front of him. Each hit on an enemy hero restores HP to Zephys. The lifesteal combined with Deathless makes Zephys exceptionally tanky at low health. Death's Flurry also deals excellent AoE damage and is a great tool in clearing waves. Ultimate, Death from Above. Zephys attacks from above, dealing physical damage to enemies in the target area and knocking them into the air for a brief period. Enemies hit are inflicted with the Thunder Crash debuff and take an additional magic damage when hit by Zephys' normal attacks and abilities. Death from Above is an excellent initiation in ganks and teamfights and can also be used to disengage and run from enemies. However, be careful that there is a brief delay in the landing. It is better to be used after the opponents used their escaping abilities. When chasing an enemy, use Death's Rift to close the gap and slow the opponent. Auto-attack until the enemy uses his escaping abilities, then jump and knock him up using Death from Above. If the opponent is not dead after Death's Flurry, use the second ability to chase him down and secure the kill. During teamfights, Zephys can use his ultimate jump into the enemy team. Use Death's Flurry for some AoE damage and lifesteal. Then Death's Rift to either get out of fights or chase down the enemies. Overall, Zephys is an all-rounded assassin and tank, with exceptional burst and mobility. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Welcome to the Hero Spotlight for Xenial, the Immaculate. Xenial is an all-around tank. He excels in both defense and controlling the enemy. With his unparalleled defensive abilities, whenever his teammates call upon him, he will unleash his ultimate, Angelic Splendor, to keep them out of harm's way. Passive, Holy Brand. Every third normal attack, Xenial deals 4% to 8% of his own maximum HP as magic damage, plus 1%.
Did I not promise you we'll be coming back 10 minutes during that break? I did, and now we are back. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Arena of Valor, India Summer Championship. My name is Asteroid, and of course here with me now is Riku, and will be part of your casters for today, alongside I Request a Duel and Luxuria. So we watched game number one as Unity smeared the floor.
Oh my god.
With the AlphaQ.
That's so brutal.
Yeah, it is brutal in terms of the wordings, but when you saw that match, 9-minute GG and 10 minutes GG, that is, I think, like, you know?
Yeah. Super duper painful. But we're moving on to our match number 2 this time around. It's gonna be Infamous versus VanQuish.
And with that in mind, we have our matchup players here for the offlaner. It's gonna be Shy, Mage, or rather Wrath will be playing on that Mage role, Marksman will be Skull, and Jungler 9lakh, and Observer will be Tuduru.
Yes, and VanQuish, we've got Ben for the offlaner, Noodles for the Mage, Anubis for the Marksman, Hades1727 for the Jungle, and Someone. Yes, his name is Someone for the Observer.
And yeah, so just a quick info for both of these teams. Infamous was able to secure the 15th position in the Valor Cup C3. So that's just a couple down the line against Unity, who were second. And yeah, they're fairly new in the competitive scene, but they're looking to be one of those contenders that we'll be seeing. And yes, so we'll be just talking about VanQuish later on, as the draft is now ready. So game number 1, drafting is underway.
Yeah, Infamous top 15 and VanQuish is top 18. So in terms of their placements rather, in the Valor Cup C3, they're not too far from each other, but it's no surprise to see that Superman is gonna get banned. Earlier we saw Murad and Zephys are one of the top contested picks in their series, so I wonder what it is, or what is it this time for them. It looks like it's gonna be a Zephys ban.
Actually, so that's Superman and Senyo. So this is gonna be
Senyo,
a bit more
rather.
because we're gonna be seeing a whole other chunk of the Indian niche pickage. So a L'Oreal, a high mobility mage that can just scale out of control in the late game, and we'll be seeing a Preda as well as a Joker. And look at this, more of picks we don't see every day.
Actually, this is very meta. This is a very meta drafting from both Infamous and VanQuish. Malak, Lubu, we finally see them on the field. Ryoma and Zephys make their way towards their second rotation for the VanQuish draft. But I really like the Preda and the Joker pick. A lot of explosive damage. Their late game potential is good. Their wave clear is also there with the Preda, especially when he charges up his waves. But then again, I love the fact that the draft is so fast at this point, and there's so many assassins just gonna be roaming around on VanQuish's side. But meanwhile, with that Lindis pick, it just makes me wanna think about the early game rotations and the vision that they're gonna be having. And I know that the spikes are definitely gonna be faster with the teammate on their side.
Interesting that most of these teams kind of gravitate towards the Lumbar, the Alice. It's actually open right now. No bans on that particular hero, but she's still not seeing as much love as I would think she should have. Although, it's also kind of interesting that we'll be seeing teaming brought into the field, as it is going to be played by a cutie named from Infamous Size Tutoru teaming. I don't know, for some reason, they kind of meshed out well together. So again, a pretty sophisticated in meta matchup. This is what I thought I wouldn't see in the league, but they are kind of bringing it to the table. We'll be watching a Malik and a Lubu, high intensity hero. We're also seeing a Ryoma, so that's also something.
Yeah, a lot of strong side laners already being picked out. I'm really happy to see that Superman was actually also got banned as well. Not gonna allow that released into the field. But just as you mentioned, I want to see more Alice. I guess we've seen Alice at game number 1 being used by Unity. Super duper flawlessly executed in terms of roaming. But then again, Lumber also well for their composition as well for the side of VanQuish, and I really expect really good engages and disengage on their side. But one thing to note is that the L'Oreal as the mage, your mobile mage, it's very contrast between a Preda matchup versus a L'Oreal matchup. L'Oreal may take a while to round. You could either try to make a snowball and get your spikes faster, but on paper, it's more like, okay, I'm gonna try maybe mid-game to late game. My cooldowns are gonna be faster, and that means it's gonna be hard to catch me this time around.
This is a very quick question. Is Endure still available?
I believe version 14, maybe it's not available anymore,
right.
so she might be picking a different talent.
Exactly. So we'll be passing it on to I Request a Duo and Luxuria to get us into game or match number 2. So guys, you know what to do.
Yeah, thank you for that. And here we are with Infamous up against VanQuish. Alongside myself is Luxuria. How you doing?
Hello, and I'm pretty excited to actually cast this series. I mean, it's been a while since I actually casted for AOV, and it's really good to be back. And interesting draft once again. It's just like Asurai mentioned, another wave of basically the Indian server coming through. However, Infamous, it's pretty meta throughout. But it's just that, you know, I spoke to certain players before the game, the tournament actually started, and they were telling me that squishies are no longer like prioritized as much, and instead, like Asrai did mention earlier on, that, you know, a lot of players, a lot of teams are going for tankier, warrior-like heroes, so you can just dive, pick up one hero, kill them, and then basically we saw that from Unity as well, from our first match, right? So basically what they did was they had really high mobility, really high CC tanky hero, and it just dove and dove and dove and basically just rotated as a team.
Well, looking on the side of VanQuish, I'm happy to see the pickup of the Joker they got through. Another Ryoma coming in to play Emprater for the first time. We will be seeing him today at least. But a lot of first-time picks as well if you look for Infamous, as there's going to be the Teamy and the Lindas and the Lubu. Even pretty much their whole team is actually first pick for today. But I mean, we're only in the second game here, so we'll see how it plays out. Teamy making that rotation down actually, which is I just imagine it with TV and it's so cute. But bend over is gonna get I maybe shouldn't say that, gank off top lane, and now in the mid is going to be Prater. So I think that so far no really early aggression, even though most heroes have hit their actually everyone has hit their level 2 already. So neither team wants to be the one to engage just yet, and they're playing more of a reactionary game by the looks of it.
Yep, although we saw a pretty much different game coming out in the first series of the day between Unity and AlphaQ, where we saw just so much aggression, controlled aggression from Unity.
Yep, and it's going to be Tuturu going to be able to get out of that one. And meanwhile, I think I like this roam from the Lumber. We saw Lumber picked up a lot in the earlier 2 matches, and although wasn't able to get the full, I guess, utilization of his kit, you can see it here that in the roaming he is able to tank up, provide the CC. And when you talk about squishy picks not being so good, you really need those to balance your team, to allow those squishier carries and such to find the positioning that they need. And there's going to be VanQuish playing the first card as they go for the Abyssal Dragon and manage to secure it without any contest from the side of Infamous. So both teams going very passive, and it's such a change of motion compared to the first game where we saw Unity just so aggressive from the start. First game, complete snowball. Second, they just kept their aggression at a very high rate throughout. So VanQuish and Infamous, I feel like even if they go on through here, would struggle very much against teams like Unity, but we'll have to see what they're able to do as they go up with a rotation to the top. It's going to be a pause coming in from Infamous, I believe.
Yeah,
and
that was...
just as they get the gank onto, I believe, in the top lane would be that of Ryoma.
Yeah, it will be Ryoma. Ryoma was trying to go for that Sentinel, if I see correctly. Yeah, I think it is a Sentinel, and I think this is basically a tactical pause coming out from the side of VanQuish. And the Abyssal Dragon take, it intrigued me because Infamous actually saw them trying to take, or Lumber was rotating, saw that it was getting taken, and yet nothing was done whatsoever, and it was basically a free Abyssal Dragon to the side of VanQuish. However, just look at the team comps, I do understand why they are looking to play a little more passive as compared to, say, the first series. And they really just want their heroes to just, you know, scale up into the into the mid-late game like that of Joker, when you have a lot more damage, and especially for the side of Infamous, when you have Lubu, when you have Malak, when you have that of Lindis, right? You want that late game fight, and here you go.
Yeah, and there's going to be the knock-up coming through from Lumber. Do they have the return damage? Roma over the wall, and there's going to be the Praetor coming up. There's going to be SY going so very low. Tutu running for their life, but dodges out the skill shot from Praetor, but walks right into that of the Lumber. And that is the kill secure potential as talking about with this team comp, as long as he's able to land, as someone is able to land. And I'm not talking about just someone, I'm talking about someone. landing that with the lumber, landing the CC. The rest of the team, as long as they follow through with the damage, they should be good. And look at this, they've kind of distracted or distorted the infamous rotation now, as they were all up on that top side, and it leaves the Joker down in the bot to really bully out this remind me of the name, I think Malik. So yeah, we just haven't seen him for so long, and not as well as you. It's been a while for myself since I've been casting AOB up until today. So it is nice to be back, a fresh breath of air into this game, which is so fast-paced as we see going on there. Praetor not quite going to land that damage onto Raph underneath the turret, and Tuturu is going to be there for the save. So VanQuish so far look like the aggressors. They've chosen that role, whether it's based on their team comp or playstyle so far. But we'll see how long they can hold that, as there's going to be the rotation down to the bot, the gank, and they might be able to pick it up, but he's going to be able to blink under that turret, turns around, and now we see someone on the lumber just kind of trying to disengage this pressure, but it's also buying time for that Praetor to make the roam. And this is the kind of three-man squad we've been seeing from the side of VanQuish, is that of the Praetor, the Zephys, and the lumber, and it's been working out well so far. We'll see what they can do here. Zephys goes in, gets the knock-up, gets a fair amount of damage, someone joins in and secures the kill. And yeah, once again, 0-2, it's not much, but it's definitely enough to get them going, opening up a second Abyssal Dragon for them.
Yep, getting the Abyssal Dragon definitely will, push them quicker into that late game, getting their items much faster. And I'm really liking what, VanQuish is bringing out onto the table here. Just rotating as a team. However, Aswa in the top lane trying to push, going for that sneaky push down in that tower there. Not quite successful, but we are looking at this rotation coming up from VanQuish right now, or yeah, basically VanQuish right now, and we are seeing them basically Praetor. Oh, that was one basic attack.
Doing a lot of work, but he's not going to give up. He goes for the chase and finishes the kill onto SY, but needs to be careful about returning into the enemy jungle. But Tuturu, actually with no team backup, will be the one to get caught out. A bit of a debate there. He does get the revive, but straight away blowing down as Lumber joins in the fight, and they pick up that kill. Roma dealing out a lot of damage himself, and that's something that we spoke about in the very first matchup that we saw that Roma was played in, and just the fact they can really hold his own when he's left on his own. But right now, a lot of these team fight situations, he's able to apply that extra damage near, because when we're looking for the damage sources, especially coming out of VanQuish, you have that of the Joker, the Praetor, and the Roma be the key ones, and it's just so overwhelming in a sense when we get into these team fight situations that it's tough for Infamous to back themselves up on anything.
Yep, and now Infamous with the very tactical pause. At this point in time, they are sitting at 11.5 versus VanQuish at 15k, close to 15,000. It is not a big difference considering what we saw. The goal difference between Unity and that of AlphaQ. However, we are looking at more items going over to the side of VanQuish, with 2 Abyssal Dragon, take 1 tower in the name as well, and 5 kills. Not a lot, but they are definitely starting to ramp up and starting to put down pressure against the side of Infamous. I was actually thinking, with Teamy on the side of Infamous, they would have roamed better, and on top of that, they would have better roaming potential, especially with the Lupu so high, sustained. Lindis as well in the early game. I know she takes some time to actually ramp up, but even then, I've seen other players actually play on that Lindis, and it's just so very strong if you know how to move and rotate. However, I think it's just down to Infamous's early rotations, as the previous casters, Asura and Riku, did mention as well, that the more aggressive you are, you basically set the pace of the game, and if you can actually set the pace, get a lead, you are pretty much set in AOV, since it's such a fast-paced game overall.
I totally agree with you there, and what you were talking about, the Infamous team comp kind of comes through to say, well, that VanQuish, they were the ones to make the first move. They've been able to ever since out-rotate that of Infamous, and they are the ones to dictate how the game is going to be played, not allowing that Lindis to ever be grouped up with the team, they always have this man advantage, especially in the roaming situations, the ganking, and finding fights in the jungle, where Infamous, I'm sure that team comp, it's not a bad team comp at all, and if they were the ones to really have that synergy and keep together, they would be able to make something happen. But right now, it's a bit of disruption within their team, and VanQuish are taking full control of that.
Yep, and here we see Anubis actually missing out on that skill shot here. But even then, as the players are getting reoriented into this game itself, you know, there's a lot more to talk about. We are seeing more classic pickups, right, from the side of Infamous, but it's just not working out just yet. With the Malik, you would think is much more present, you know, with your big ultimate, that giant space of knockup. But however, Zephyr's going over to the side of VanQuish, we are seeing here the power of Zephyr's.
Well, there's going to be the gank down to the bot tower, and Sko on the Malik is going to use the ultimate to get out, but instead decides to stick around trying to hold on to that tower, and it's going to be all for naught because it allows the side of VanQuish to then go for the Abyssal Dragon and get the tower anyway. I mean, there wasn't much he could do at this time. If anything, the side of Infamous should have tried to make, the rest of Infamous should have tried to make a rotation down towards the bot after they saw that happen. And it looks like VanQuish is deciding, okay, well, we won't take the Abyssal Dragon just yet. We'll put our focus elsewhere. We see that we're pressured bot. Now let's see what else we can do. They're sending Praetor up into the jungle to maybe Roma for now. But it's a 3-man team down here on the Abyssal Dragon. Should be more than enough. And Infamous just really isn't responding to anything. Whether right now, it just looks like they're going around to their towers, clearing their lanes. And that's all they can do. Tutoru maybe having some connection issues with some strange
poots. Yeah, but I think what happened then was basically just VanQuish overleashed the Abyssal Dragon and then had to just let it go.
To reset.
Yeah. So I'm glad, you know, the side of VanQuish, they are playing this really calculated, really slow pace, a refresh, basically, right, of what we saw in the first game. We are 8 minutes and 37 in, and they are still playing really safe and calculated, not trying to make any risky move. But as I say that,
that's why going to get caught out. There's going to be Anubis picking up that kill south, and now the pressure is up on this top side of the map. Now, you said that VanQuish were playing this one slow, calculated. I'd agree with you there, but there's I would almost prefer the risky fast plays, because as long as you've got that lead and you're pushing that, you have a lot of room to make mistakes. And right now, if anything, this is minimizing the room between Infamous and VanQuish, giving Infamous a possible chance of a comeback here. As we see Malok positioning himself around the Darkslayer, isn't going to get the steal, just maybe coming by to say hi. And we do see that's going to be the Zephyrs jumping over the wall, but not really able to do anything to him. So right now, it's Infamous playing so passively that allowed VanQuish to get a hold of that Darkslayer buff, and we might even see a rotation for a third, actually make that a fourth Abyssal Dragon for themselves. So they're building up their bank, their economy, this gold lead that they're getting. As we see, they're seeing 25.6k over to 19.3. Not the biggest gap that we've seen, but it's definitely enough to feel comfortable with. My only worry is whether VanQuish are just holding on too long and they're not applying pressure when they should. Oh, okay. Well, looks like there's going to be a surrender coming through from Infamous, and game one going over to them. So, yeah, not too sure what to say about that. At least with the way things were going, it was definitely in favor of Team VanQuish. And I would have seen Infamous could have had a chance. Maybe his connectivity issues that came through, because I don't see any other reason to call a surrender in that situation.
Yep, there was no reason. Okay.
Okay, well, with that, we have been informed that it is some kind of technical difficulties for now of sorts, but we'll leave you in the hands of Asurai and Riku. Mike.
Yes, now you can hear our awesome, sexy, handsome, macho voices. Technical difficulties aside, it looked like at the start of that game, it could have gone either way. I feel like L'Oreal kind of has to get her items first and some levels before she can be a thorn into the side of people. And on the side of VanQuish, they just played a game wherein they always grouped up, and it felt like there was nothing of the same sort for Infamous, where they kind of tried to go for some picks here and there with a two-man squad, but there wasn't enough damage to actually follow through upon that. And when you saw that happen before with the Joker in the bottom lane or in the Abyssal Dragon lane, and he was able to get away with a sliver of HP, and then I think something like that kept replicating itself, and it just kind of made it difficult for Infamous to become to actually have these type of.
Yeah, I think their three-man squad for the early phases of the game is actually pretty solid. I mean, you've got the Lindis and the L'Oreal, except that if ever your jungle rotation gets interrupted of some sort, especially on the side, if ever, for example, mid lane, I see Preda has really good wave clear, that would make room for me to roam around with my squad, because if you compare the wave clear of these two, I feel like Preda has more to offer. So if you do that, L'Oreal of course probably stay in lane. If you leave the lane, then you'll get a sort of a little bit of chip damage onto the tower, and that's gonna. I feel like that's just a really something of a small detail to bring up. I don't think it's a very huge factor on how Infamous or VanQuish rather has managed to win that match, but it's one of those small details that probably would have piled up, and eventually it's going to be. You saw that VanQuish constantly created this pressure at the top side of the jungle. It would really ruin Lindis's jungle rotations, but even though you saw that Teamy really amplifies the gold acquisition of whoever he's going to be with during that time, but it really didn't equate into anything that much because of the constant aggression that VanQuish has been doing.
Yeah, another thing that I should point out here is that we started a game. Okay, so we watched the game before with AlphaQ and Unity, where we saw just Unity straight from the get-go, again, kind of dominate AlphaQ in those two matches. But here with Infamous and VanQuish, it felt like Infamous had an idea what they had to do when the game started. Their rotations were there to stop at least the impressive counter jungling that might have come out from VanQuish's composition. They had a Ryoma and Number who can, I feel that even though they're not level 4, can really deal some good enough damage when they kind of want to disrupt again the jungler. But at the same time, there was a point in that game, maybe technical issues or maybe team rotation wise, kind of just made it very difficult for Infamous to kind of follow the tempo that they set to go against VanQuish, and VanQuish just kept the ball rolling. They got everything that they wanted, and there was even a point where Preda was just solo checking out jungle, not fearing any of the damage that might come out from. And
yeah, I mean, looking at Infamous's composition on paper, really good. You've got strong side laners and Maloff. You've got an awesome, well, not a decent jungler, Lindis, with okay clear for the jungle. Teamy with the additional support, good engage as well, nice CC just to set things going, to keep things going, and as well as the ultimate that could potentially create overcommitments from the opposition. But we didn't really see that sort of play because most of the time it's Infamous constantly trying to keep up with whatever or wherever VanQuish is going, where they're going, where the movements are going to be. And because they are unable to do their own thing or make their own composition work, it just threw their rhythm off the board. And that's the reason why VanQuish was able to keep up with the lead. Again, tempo is so important in Valor.
Yeah, and it's never ever going to stop. And I mean, nothing could really be said after than that. I mean, it just felt like Infamous there could have done better, but it also might have been because they were having some issues. We saw a lot of pauses a while ago and really can't put that out of the equation because they might have had some difficulties here. But of course, since this is a tournament, you kind of have to deal with all of that at the same time. But again, we're not blaming anything for that one. VanQuish, on the other hand, again, the rotations were really nice. The composition that they themselves really just scaled not too bad. I mean, there was a point where also you have to commend them for not overcommitting to an objective where they felt like even though Infamous wasn't really performing well, they still respected them. There was a point wherein, I think it was I requested who pointed this out, where Infamous wanted to go, or rather, VanQuish wanted to go Pistol Dragon, but they decided to push first in the mid, clear out some waves, push it forward, get the lane equilibrium in their favor, and then once they have more vision around the lanes, they know where their opponent go for the Pistol Dragon for a safe take. And this just shows how Infamous kind of respects their opponent at the same time. They know how to set up an objective. They just don't push it, even though they have the advantage or they have the numbers. They still want to make sure that it's gonna be objective that they can take safely.
Yeah, wave management first, and then you go for objectives. They wanna, just as you said, they wanna make sure that they're making the safe route, safe call, and try to maximize the death timers of the opponent, so that they can maximize it, whatever reward they could reap in the battlefield. Especially the more waves that you push, as the more area that you potentially cover. Aside from pushing down the waves, then maybe you could move on to the jungle, and then you could Slayer and then a Dragon.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
So there you go.
It seems like, again, Infamous had some connection issues in the first game, but, well, to our happiness, to our delight, they actually may have fixed it already. And game number 2, draft, is now underway. So let's get into the draft.
Yes, so the Sentinel, right off the bat, being taken out, VanQuish did not want to see that. I'm expecting a Superman ban here for the side of Infamous. I believe we are going to see probably maybe Zephyr's. Depends on the priority on where they want to put it, because most of the time we see either Zephyr's getting picked out. We've seen Murad bans already in our first series. It looks like they really want to take this Zephyr's. Fully understandable. Really good jungle clear, good mobility, death from above level for good level spike, but L'Oreal and Ryoma being taken as well. So no surprise picks so far. All of these picked during game number 1.
I'm kind of curious to see, because I believe during version 14, wherein we saw, I believe, that was during like the Philippine Valor Cup finals,
yes,
wherein there was a lot of emphasis on picking up but there might be some correlation wherein we're not seeing the kill cost that much right now, because there's no Chognar to kind of like remove the crowd controls for that kill cost. It could be wrong on that perspective, but I feel like Kilgoth is one of, in this version, very strong and very formidable, and nobody is picking it up. And we are seeing more of the Predator picks, the L'Oreal picks, which were more of the heroes that we've seen on the previous list.
Yeah, I think it's also because there's a lot of heroes, as it's a very tricky pick for me. I mean, Kilgroth didn't exactly perform well when we casted the Valor Cup. But you know what? I'm really looking forward to what they have in store for this, because they have Teamy as well. They want to make this work. Probably if they put Kilgroth in the jungle, that would really speed up the ramping up process of Kilgroth, which is, try to grow him into a killing machine, because combined with that cleave, with the attack speed and everything else, he's just going to be a monster. But at the same time, he's so easily countered. We've seen him being placed at side lanes, and with Ryoma, with a lot of strong dive-heavy heroes, you could easily shut down his early game. With that said, that's going to just slow down his growth, and that's the reason why you have to rely on a second damage dealer. And Kilgroth wasn't picked at the previous game, so I'm guessing the strategies and the rotations might be a little bit different for both of these sides.
Yeah, it just feels like a lot of these players or these teams coming in from this particular region hasn't yet fully grasped maybe how to use this particular hero, because we've seen before he's such a contested pick. During our two ban matches way back before on other regions, they banned Superman and Kilgroth straight up from the get-go, and it's not showing right now. I'm just gonna be super curious, like you said. It's gonna be on how Infamous sets this up. If they can babysit this Kilgroth, you know, from a fish out of water and turn him into the great white of the depths, well, he's just gonna be gnawing, gnashing, and just ripping through players if with his trident.
I think so.
Yeah, just trident, and see if he can, you know, bring to the table some bacon, or well, yeah, actually some bacon because he's fish, so you don't want to bring fish to the table since he's fish. But anyways, gonna give it to I Requested Duel and Luxuria. So guys, you know what to do.
Thank you for that, Sarai and Riku. We're back here once again. Got VanQuish going up against Infamous, and look at this. VanQuish going in early with such aggression before, actually 4-man rotation there into the enemy Blue and Sage Golem. And there's going to be the return engagement coming through from Infamous, who have now gone to contest that one. But we do see Praetor getting some fair damage off. I don't think they were able to secure that for themselves, but they are going to force Infamous out of their jungle at fairly low health, and because they were the ones to make the initial play, they have the upper hand here. But once again, I'm I Requested Duel, and joining me is Luxuria. We got straight into the action in game number 2, and that could be an interesting way if we see the pace of the game follow that.
Yep, I'm really liking what the players are bringing out at this point. As compared to the first game, at least, you know, now they're more comfortable in the, I want to say own skin, but it's basically, they probably got the heroes that they really want to play, be on, and we can see just how comfortable they are going in for the early aggression and then counter-rotating as well from the side of Infamous. So not so much of just being a sitting duck. So that is always refreshing to see, and that is just very, very nice all throughout. Very unfortunate for the first game for the side of Infamous, experiencing some connectivity issue, but overall, I'm expecting a lot more with that Pooty Poots.
It's going to be Sko and Tuturu going in onto Anubis, but Anubis with the turnaround as gets help from his teammates again for the first blood as they pick up Sko, and that's going to be VanQuish this time, I believe, actually taking the... Actually, no, last time it was VanQuish. They were on the other side, taking the initiative, and we are going to see following that is possibly the Abyssal Dragon. It could get contested here, but currently sitting at half health, and they decide to go in for the fight. There's going to be Ralph going very low on the back lines, but is relying on the rest of the team to hold that front line, and that's something to look at both the team comps when it comes through for Infamous. You've got just Ralph on the back line, with the rest of the heroes being very much frontline oriented. On the side of VanQuish, you've got the Joker and the Praetor to be your backline heroes, but oof, so very low is going to be Zephyr able to jump out of there with a sliver of health in the mid lane, just gets out barely alive. So very close to going for a 1-for-1 trade in this early game, but VanQuish for now are going to hold that lead in their hands.
Yep, but at least for the top side of the lane, Lubu is getting pushed out by Kilgroth. And so Kilgroth at this point in time sitting in a very, very comfortable position as compared to, say, the previous game. And with that in mind, I mean, just look at Vandover, just how low he is. And then you have Kilgroth just trying to go in.
Yeah, Kilgroth going to go in deep, but Lubu with the lifesteal putting up a decent fight. The 1v1 duel going to go down, and SY might regret it. It looks like there's a bit of poke in the mid-bot, but there's going to be the kill going over to Vandover in his victory triumph. He is going to return to the base. So it looks like Kilgroth, although you said he is doing kind of well, that confidence got to him, and he wasn't able to win out the duel. You see now Abyssal Dragon getting started up there. I was going to say the second Abyssal Dragon, but they previously decided to back off. And there's going to be the steal coming through by Six Black on the Roma, and the knockup going through by Lumber, someone on the Lumber, and there's going to be the chase down. He goes in too deep without the backup from his team. Tuturu going to get caught out, but should be able to get back up and standing. Valor sticking around to make sure he gets out there nicely. Roma going back into the fight, going to get shut down by the Praetor, and that's going to be, I believe, Noodles on that Praetor, and Vandover going in deep. That lifesteal not going to keep you alive in a 1v2 situation, and Anubis, so many low health targets everywhere in this fight. End result, 3-3, but that did kick Infamous up as they got those 3 kills during that fight, whereas VanQuish only got 2. So right now we actually see Infamous with the lead in terms of gold, and after collecting that Abyssal Dragon for themselves, you could say for experience and level as well.
Yep, and here we are going into another pause. But okay, so in that particular fight itself, had Ryoma not stolen that Abyssal Dragon, I really think that, you know, we'll see much more levels coming out from the side of VanQuish, and they'll be able to win the game because the Abyssal Dragon actually gives you a ton of experience or EXP. But with that, of course, you know, Ryoma kind of turned the tides around. Obviously, we saw just very clean rotations coming out from the side of VanQuish, and with that in mind, you know, they were just basically dominating right from the top lane to the bot as well as the mid as well. They're just putting so much pressure, dominating not in terms of gold, but it's more so of just the pressure they are able to apply. And then here we see a random Ryoma just appears out of nowhere, use the ultimate, and bam, takes the dragon away. And that is really what that changed the tide, and basically gave Infamous 3 kills, and on top of that as well a gold lead and a free Abyssal Dragon. So really good, really good still coming out from the side of Infamous. All they really have to do right now is, with this gold lead at least, right, try their best to out-rotate that of VanQuish if possible.
Yeah, now what I see here is this has opened up a window of opportunity for Infamous, whereas if they let VanQuish take that Abyssal Dragon without contest, that could be the starting of a very early snowball for them. As we saw in the previous game, VanQuish were the ones to hold control as they took that match, and looks like Ryoma might get caught out here. He's going to be able to dash backwards, isn't going to go in to try steal that sentry. And for now, Tuturu in the mid lane, putting down some pressure onto the Praetor. Not really the follow-up damage though, and that's going to actually bait in their teammates and it cause them to get ganked upon, but both teams are able to get out of that one safely for now. So the next question is, with 10 seconds left on the next Abyssal Dragon, whether that's going to be the key point of the map to see the next fight break out. But I could be wrong. It's in the top lane. Tuturu and Sixlack going to be up there. Do you think it's Sixlack or maybe set as black?
Well, whichever they are more comfortable with. I don't think it's wrong either way, but we do see Malak actually burning that ultimate to try to get away. And once again, Bandova, really tough time in that top lane with 6 lag. And 6 lag, then wouldn't that be like one more lag
than the prize pool? But we'll have to see here. Ralph Gain diving jungle, fighting over that Sage Golem, and I think that is going to be Zephyrus on the side of VanQuish to take that one away, and turning around, picking up not quite the kill onto Tuturu, but the down, and Sko going to be that front line for his team on that Malak. Nice to see the Malak coming into a bit more play in this game number 2, match number 2. And right now, I think the key parts to look at here are the top lane, where we see Bendover able to take the first tower of the game, and just the duels he's having here with Sixlack, and is going to get caught out by that of Raph and Tuturu for the gank. They finish off, now taking the kill lead, but they are down in objectives and overall pressure because that resource rotation up to the top has allowed their mid to also fall. And it's looking a bit dire for them now, as VanQuish going to try their second attempt on the Abyssal Dragon here. And whether we'll see Infamous catch wind of this, I think Sko knows something's going on, but isn't able to respond. So 1-to-1 on those Abyssal Dragons and catching up in that gold lead.
Yep, softening the gold lead that the side of Infamous has on them. But even then, that is 600. Anubis may just get ganked here.
Yeah, it's going to get ganked, but Timmy not going to be able to land that onto them, and they're just going to back off. It's right now, it's so much back and forth trading action that I feel like the only key moments we'll see fights either in this top side, where we've seen so much action, or down into the bot near the Abyssal Dragon, and that's just going to be what happens here as we see Sixlack and Tuturu go for a 2v3 situation soon to turn into 4v2. Not how you want to do it. There's going to be the Roma taken down instantly, followed by the Teamy, and Now you can see VanQuish starting to get back on that, and that single Abyssal Dragon steal that Infamous got earlier in the game just wasn't enough to really... it was a good opportunity for them, but they haven't been able to utilize it, as Raph finding themselves in a 1v4 situation. They pick up a kill onto the Lubu, taking down Bendover. So doing a good job there, and you can see why that's such a strong mid lane pick.
Yep, it is a very, very strong mid lane pick, but you know, the side of VanQuish really have to start picking their battles. I mean, they are not really playing as clean as they can possibly, but Noodles here.
Yeah, there's gonna be Noodles down Scope underneath his tower, and you can see standing on the side lanes, we've got someone in Samakaki just waiting, trying to bait in the Roma perhaps before even taking this tower, but they're just going to go in and finish it off. Seeing that Abyssal Dragon is up soon, they might make the rotation mid, push that out, and then rotate back to Abyssal. Could be the call here as they're scaring off Infamous from that mid lane. And just leaving there, this is Infamous. They make the call that they're going to respond to top, make sure the pressure's off there, but they're leaving this Abyssal Dragon fairly open. Roma in the bush is waiting, but Bendover will catch him out. He's going to be able to get out there safely. I'm not sure. Will they be able to get a steal the second time for the third dragon?
Ooh, 2-2 going in with the stun.
Right in there. He's right up in it, but doesn't have the damage to really commit to that one. Not going to be able to take it out, and there's going to be the chase down for the kill confirmed onto the teamie. There's going to be a great ult coming through by the by Scope on that Malik to support his team. Could swing things around. They're just trying to keep Roma alive. Look at the lifesteal Malik. It's not going to be enough in a 1v2 situation. And meanwhile, Zephyr's on the bot manages to secure a kill onto that of Raph. And now they, I'd say once again, it's fairly even trade outs, but VanQuish remain on top.
Yep, they are starting to get back the gold lead that they have been missing out, although not all too much, but it's just still a 2,000 gold lead, and it will bode well for the side of VanQuish. At least 2 Abyssal Dragons to the names and 4 towers as well. As for the side of Infamous, however, not doing all too well. 0 towers, but 1 stolen Abyssal Dragon. But overall, they are not looking all too shabby. If you were to ask me, I think they are winning most of the team fights at the end of it all. It is just that they do not try to find for the team fights before a major objectives.
Yeah, and we're gonna see that Teeny just in a lot of fights, and it's got me going with the pick. Always going down first. I know he has the able to get back up on his feet, has that second wind kind of ability there, and it's actually going to debate the team of VanQuish into a fight as they pick up the lumber. Looks like they're also going to follow through and pick up that of Sko on the Malok. But look at this, the chase down coming from the rest of VanQuish. Noodles and Anubis still fairly high on HP. Bendover gonna come around the other side of that tower and smack down onto Roma as they pick up the kill. And it should be an easy tower take from there, as Raph and Kilgroth, Raph and SY I should say, are the only ones standing. Looks like SY maybe with some technical difficulties there, as Raph actually the only one at the outer rims, at the high ground turrets of the base. But we see here the fight, the replay going down, and look at this. It's kind of Infamous, VanQuish I should say, initially overcoming, and that's why they lose a few members there, but they're able to trade out, and Infamous come, VanQuish come out on top of Infamous, my bad.
Yep, you know what's really irritating about Teamy really is Bigger Bro, the ultimate, right? Where he just really he can just revive himself and another ally. So I think that is the part that, you know, the side of Infamous really, the side of VanQuish at least, really struggle with, because we saw in the initial part of the game when Abyssal Dragon was taken. No, still just yet. But when the initial Abyssal Dragon was taken, and then there was a steal by Ryoma, a fight was forced out, right? And we saw Teamy actually with, we saw Teamy actually being a bro. Reviving the teammates and then just putting themselves, or rather giving Infamous the edge in that team fight.
Yeah, I think the key thing here is that Infamous need to find their engagement. They want the positioning they want. You really want the Malik on the front line alongside the Teamy, not just Teamy on the solo, because he will be targeted, taken down, and it opens up that opportunity for the side of VanQuish to just go all in on the other squishies that you have there. Malik gonna go in, however, gets the knock up on a fair few, but look at this high ground tower just getting burnt down so very low, but Sko gonna pick up the kill onto Vendova. He's gonna get traded out, and we can see the L'Oreal doing a lot of damage. This is what I like to see. As long as she's not being targeted, she's free to chase down. Should go too deep, needs to be kind of careful there, as you can still see Joker and that of the Praetor, very high HP. And look at that burst damage onto the Roma. They could be looking to end out the game here, but Sko has other things to say about that as he's trying to fight them off, keep them at bay for now, waiting for that L'Oreal to join back in on the fight. Here comes Ralph coming to the rescue, and for now they are holding on. They've lost their mid lane quite harshly, and I think for the side of Infamous to come back, it's really about waiting for those opportunities where VanQuish are pressuring the objectives to get that extra damage in for themselves.
I mean, half the time what VanQuish really is doing is basically overcommitting, over-investing, if that's actually a term used in MOBA, because what they're doing is basically they're not really picking their team fights. Instead, they're going all in. If there's an exchange, and it's an exchange, it's fine. It doesn't matter to them as long as they secure something. And that is one loophole that, you know, the side of Infamous can actually take advantage of, which we haven't quite seen yet. So maybe Malak don't have to quite use the ultimate just yet. Maybe wait for it. And then you have to do on that, you know, on that teammate that has a putty put. So basically hold in your gas, come out with a big stun, you know, a whole lot of stun. So Timmy can actually be in the front line, try to get those engages off.
I'm not saying he can't be in the front line. My problem line and doesn't really receive the backup he needs a lot of the time, but that's just the aggression from VanQuish, the power that they have to play with in their hands right now. You can see Lubu, the solo split push lane up in the top, almost gained that tower, but it's going to get pushed back, punished for it. And as you said, VanQuish perhaps overcommitting to some of these objectives in team fights, and now with Infamous, who I would like to say have the man advantage. It's sad that SY on the kill graph not able to help them out here. So they're constantly a man disadvantage, but now could be the only opportunity they get to turn anything around. Is there's going to be Sko going in with the initiation. Good kill combo there coming through by Ralph and Tutadu as they try and chase down Lumber. He's going to be fairly tanky. Zephyrus is probably the one you want to go for, as we see Tutadu trying to go in with the CC once again. And I think they're going to be able to make something happen here if Sko joins in on the fight. Tutadu going to go low, gets the revive, gets back up, and is able to secure that kill. So they're picking apart VanQuish and doing a great job for what is a 4v5 situation.
Yep, I mean, they are doing an excellent job. They are basically taking advantage of what VanQuish is doing, but they did not realize it quick enough, right? So what we are seeing right now, I think the perfect example of an engagement that Infamous can actually pull off would be having Teamy going into the front line with Putty Poots and then landing an AoE stun, okay, using being a pro, and then after, okay, maybe after landing AoE stun, then have backup from his allies, and then with that, when anybody's running away, have Malak just jump in, maybe have him finish up as well, or just go in with a big ultimate, get him more CC, and then with that, if Putty puts on cooldown, use your chain, get in a stun or two, and there you go. It would be like the perfect team fight. However, they didn't quite execute the team comp to perfection just yet.
Well, that could fall apart here as Tuturu getting caught out, and that could be the key composition for that team to go in with the fight, but Malak is going to respond, and L'Oreal alongside that for the damage. Look at the return between the two of these, but they're going to have to back out now, as it looks like Zep is joining in the fight. Tuturu coming back in as he's regained some health. They should be able to get something done. You can see, as you mentioned, going in with the stun for the initiation. So many low targets across the board for VanQuish, and they could catch out Praetor on the back run as Tuturu going there. I don't know if he has the damage to solo him, but here comes Sko. Should be able to work things out with a stun. There's going to be knockup. Bendover got caught in that one, but they're not going to follow through anymore. They're just taking things as they go, making sure their base is completely open. And right now, I think if Infamous could get the Dark Slayer after getting a few kills and death timer resets per se, they could be able to perhaps turn around this game in the uphill battle that they're fighting. Tuturu on that teamy, playing a great role as the initiator that you mentioned, and I think especially in this later game has a lot more tankiness, but right now is going to get caught out once again. And that's a big problem as we see 52 seconds on the board as until he's gonna be back up. And for the side of Infamous, that's just such a key part of them being able to confirm a lot of these kills. Roma and Bendover going in for the late game duel, perhaps a bit of a rematch here, and it looks like Bendover gonna be the one to win it out once again. So Roma not learning his lesson, but is fighting for his honor, but it's going to be the game cost for them as Sko and Raph doing their best to hold this one off in a 2v4 situation, but it's going to be Raph going down to the hands of Anubis, and the rest of the team dive all onto Sko, and there's going to be the core to follow. Game number 2 into the hands of VanQuish, and well, GG, I must say, well played to Infamous for that one.
They definitely put up a really, really good fight, although they, experienced some connectivity issues, but they went down. They definitely gave VanQuish, put up a pretty good fight for the side of VanQuish. However, their team comp could have been executed much, much better. But, let's hear it from Asurai and Riku and see what they actually think about it.
So there you go. We are now gonna try to at least break that what happened there further. Okay, aside from not having the kill growth for Infamous side, that was
Yes,
yeah,
Infamous. Yes.
I felt like they had a really legit chance there of winning. I feel like it was just because they were a 4 versus 5 for the longest time ever. When the kill growth had some had issues or technical issues. I mean, they were like the Malik just goes in at the very primal spots. The L'Oreal follows up, and her damage, her mobility, and how difficult it is to kind of like pin her down makes it so difficult. And every other member there of VanQuish was, to a certain extent, was very squishy.
Yeah, there were a couple of mistakes actually being done. I think one instance, because during the early phase of the game, VanQuish obviously did a pretty good job in trying to equalize everything. They focused more on the top side of the map, just trying to put some pressure at Ryoma until the second tier turret. They managed to keep getting rewarded. But at the same time, because of their over-aggression, L'Oreal kept getting all the kills. At some point, she was sort of like going ultimate already on certain points in the game. But at the same time, it was VanQuish getting all the objectives, getting all of the map control. So with that said, it just really, on the other hand, VanQuish, okay, they have the advantage, but long-term wise, they're actually putting in a lot of gold in L'Oreal pockets. And you saw during the later phases of the game where L'Oreal managed to be a huge problem for VanQuish. And they had so many instances where, okay, this is so difficult. How can we close the game? And at that point, they could have turned it around for Infamous side. And I say that they did a pretty good job punishing certain plays from the side of VanQuish where they might be a little bit too aggressive, and the rewards are just not there.
Yeah, I mean, all in all, the game, this second game, just showed us a bit more of a preview. If both of these teams had, I guess, level playing field in terms of, whatever it was, it kind of like made it difficult for Infamous to play.
Mm-hmm.
It just shows that Infamous had a really good grasp of their lineup, and again, like you said, put gold into the pockets of the L'Oreal. And like I said a while ago, L'Oreal kind of thrives more once you get her those levels items, and she did. But at the end of the day, it was, again, just that numbers disadvantage for Infamous here. Honestly, I felt like if ever they had a kill growth and a kill growth in late game, especially that late to the game, like it was, what, like 22 minutes in?
Yeah, it's a 20-minute game.
Yeah,
yes.
that kill growth would have been a total beast to have gone up against, and we never really saw it.
Yeah, it was. I suppose the kill growth had a hard time. We saw how everybody else was, I don't know, 15 already.
Yeah.
He was still level 10, obviously having a difficult time. But, you know, going back on paper, it was infamous in terms of composition. They also had a really good late game scaling composition. They held their ground pretty well. But VanQuish did a very, very good job as well with, you know, with Joker with a burst damage. Everything was pretty much set. They had consistency in terms of aggressive plays. They're very, very confident. Top side was their priority, it seems, and they try to shift everything else afterwards. Once they get their objective at top, okay, let's go get Abyssal Dragon when we can. But at the same time, let's keep pushing top side because it seems that it's pressuring the Kilgroth. Should I continue farming or spawn and help with this Ryoma? So it just really leaves a fork road. Yes, fork road. That is correct. I felt like I said something else, but road there for in terms of decision making for Infamous to try and see whether they sacrifice the farm of Kilgroth or they try to save or they sacrifice Ryoma having a hard time. So again, it's all about decision making and where power spikes are going to be and where power picks are going to be prioritized. So it's all about tearing the enemy apart and pressuring them to make certain decisions that they're not ready.
Yeah, speaking of power picks there, though, you got to give it to the support Tutoru, who was using the Teamy. Like, it felt like during this best of 3, it was a bit too overextended. It was a bit too, overzealous, over-aggressive with his playstyle. But it was not, it wasn't in vain. Like, everything that he did was because he had faith that his teammates would be able to on him, and once he actually was knocked out, he had his ultimate being a bro to kind of bring him back to the table, and it just kept happening over again. He has also some damage with that gas bomb, the Pooty Poots, for himself, and I mean, it might not seem like a lot, or it might seem very chaotic at some point, but overall, I felt like that initiation made it so that other members from the team felt a bit more confident in being able to kind of, again, follow up on what he started. And on VanQuish's side, I mean, they were also doing pretty well, but...
They got Ben on the Lubu, who had a really good duel against #Y or SY at the top side with the Kilgroth. He had the level disadvantage, but he made it work. So I'm super duper happy to see, aside from macro decisions, we also have micro matchups, knowing the fact that maybe I'm a level below, but still make the matchup work because, okay, I have my CC, I have my damage, we got this.
Yeah, speaking of CC, we have been talking too much about them. VanQuish, on the other hand, had some pretty nice skirmishes on the earlier stages of the game, wherein I believe they had that pretty slick Lubu X Lumbar comp, wherein they had the I think the third slam down of the Lubu, get a knock up, and then Lumbar follows up and just just puts everybody in the air for like some airtime was like 2 seconds, 1 to 2 seconds, and then he just comboed, followed up. It was pretty devastating to look at. And there was also another point here for VanQuish when their Preda was already pumping out the Kamehamehas, wherein he just right away kept on blasting people. In any case, we're just gonna take a short break, and when we get back, the matchup between CapricieuX and Potatoes, again for the Arena of Valor India Summer Championship. My name is Asteroid, and of course here with me now is Riku. We'll be back after a quick break.
Hello, and welcome to Arena of Valor. Not satisfied with only watching the matches taking place in the 2018 World Cup? Well, this summer, you can get in the game with a new football mode featuring an all-new map, Fantasy Island. In football mode, you're no longer required to push lanes, destroy towers, or defeat enemies. That's right, you're being liberated from the traditional MOBA gameplay. These matches only last 4 minutes, so you can pick up your mobile device for a casual, fast, and thrilling AOV football match anytime, anywhere. Not only have we added a morale system to make the football experience feel more realistic, but we've also developed 3 new abilities just for this mode: kick, block, and gravity. The new kick ability is highly flexible. Not only can it be used to shoot, but it can also be used for passing, allowing you to coordinate with your teammates. The block ability can be used to stop the opposing team's offense on its tracks. As everyone knows, an impenetrable defense is key to victory. Even if you fall behind in this mode, there's no reason to be discouraged. The morale system provides the trailing team with more chances to cast Gravity, the new ultimate ability. We're using new technology in this mode that regardless of which team you're in, your own goal is always blue, and the opponent's goal is always red. So you never have to worry about kicking the ball in the wrong direction. We've also created a weather system for football mode that adds a new dimension to the AOV experience. Don't hold back. Let your imagination and creativity run wild with gameplay that can only be experienced on Fantasy Island. Unfortunately, ranged heroes will not be taking part in this mode. Their normal attacks would allow them to kick the ball from afar, confusing other players as to who kicked the ball and from where. The unique traits of each hero allow for endless team possibilities. Try out different combinations of heroes and experiment with what works best. We expect there are lots of undiscovered hero groupings just waiting to be found. Who knows? Maybe you'll invent a powerful team that's never been tried before and dominate the field. All heroes will retain their original abilities. However, in the name of sportsmanship, the damage caused by those abilities has been removed. Only their control effects remain. To prevent certain heroes from becoming too powerful in this mode, we've adjusted some of their movement speeds. We've also created football-themed skins for Valheim, Murad, Tulin, Zenial, and Max. A truly excellent player has more than just amazing skill. A truly excellent player is always prepared to take advantage of the unpredictable weather. Use the weather effects to improve your situation on the field. You might be surprised by the possible outcomes. Exciting, right? Round up some friends and prepare to experience the thrill of AOV's upcoming football mode.
Welcome to the hero spotlight of Max the Wonderkind. Enemies escaping? Not from Max. Max is great at chasing them down. Think you're safe from Max? Think again. Man's ultimate, Liftoff, can go through the enemy's team even if the target is on the other side. With Liftoff, no enemy running low can ever hope to escape from Max the Wonderkind. Recall interrupted. Passive static shock. Every time Max damages an enemy, the enemy gets shocked, causing them to suffer true damage every second and have their health regeneration reduced. Static shock can be used together with Tome of the Reaper or Curse of Death's Soul prison effect, as this shuts down heroes that can heal quickly, such as Tara and L'Oreal. First ability, Bionic Blender. Max spins his robot arms around, dealing physical damage to enemies. Every time he hits an enemy, his movement speed will be increased. Bionic Blender's movement speed boost can be stacked. There are two ways of doing this. First way involves hitting multiple targets at once to gain a huge speed boost, while the second way is to reduce Bionic Blender's cooldown through items such as Spear of Longinus, using Bionic Blender to hit the enemy again before Max loses the movement speed boost. Second ability, Smooth Moves. Max rushes towards his target and flips over them, landing on their opposite side. Once on the other side, Max activates a magnetic force field that reduces his damage taken. This ability can be used again within 4 seconds. Smooth Moves is indeed a hidden dash ability, and Max can use it to hit targets and pass through certain obstacles. Watch out! Ultimate Liftoff. Max fires trackers that attach to all enemy heroes for a short time. The trackers allow allies to see the enemy's locations and interrupt enemy recall actions. While the trackers are active, Max can then select an enemy to track and ram into by holding down the ability button. Ramming into the enemy deals physical damage and knocks them back. If Max takes too long to select an enemy, then he will have to fire the trackers again. When Max lands, he activates a magnetic force field that reduces his damage taken, increases his resistance by 30%, and shocks all nearby enemies. Pressing the ability again while Max is tracking an enemy will cancel the attack, making Max land immediately and activate his force field. Max doesn't have to ram into the enemy every time when using liftoff. If enemy heroes are sticking together and are tough to kill, then Max can tap liftoff again to cancel it in order to avoid getting caught outnumbered. Want to become epic with Max? 1. Smooth Move's damage reduction will still be in effect on second activation. Use it again right after the first part to achieve maximum damage reduction. 2. Bionic Blender is Max's main damage dealer and minion wave clearer. It also has a very short cooldown, so always level up with this ability first, followed by Smooth Moves, and then level up his ultimate Liftoff whenever it is available. 3. Max is really good at chasing down the enemy. I mean really good at chasing them down. So he doesn't really need Flicker to initiate. However, he may lack the damage to finish off targets, so take Execute for that extra damage reach. 4. Liftoff can also be used as an escape tool. When Max is running low and being chased down, he can use Liftoff to ram into an enemy at another location. After he reaches a safe place, he can then cancel Liftoff to complete his escape. 5. Max should always pay attention to the mini-map. When he sees targets that are running low, he should get close and use Liftoff to finish them off. A common combo for Max is to first use Liftoff to charge forward. Follow it up with Smooth Moves for control, followed by Bionic Blender to deal damage. Continue the combo with Smooth Moves and normal attacks to complete the kill. The combo sequence is Ultimate plus second ability plus first ability plus second ability. Thanks for watching today's Hero Spotlight. See you next time. When the twins T and Me wear the knight armor crafted by the legendary Max the Wonderkind, they form T-Me, the Stalwart. Welcome to the T-Me Hero Spotlight. A tanky support with 2 control abilities that aid with both catching enemy heroes and keeping teammates out of harm's way, T-Me has both a strong laning presence and extreme utility in late-game team fights. Warning, T-Me's ultimate, being a bro, will make your opponents annoyed and or confused with despair at how many times they have to kill your allies. We are never going back to the base. Passive Scavenge. When a non-hero enemy dies near T-Me, the brothers quickly pick up the spoils and give nearby allies extra gold. Scavenge's effect does not only apply to minions, but also applies to jungle monsters, so T-Me can move around the river and earn as much gold as possible in multiple lanes to farm faster. First ability, Pooty Poots. T begins to build up gas in his stomach, increasing their movement speed temporarily. During this time, T tries to hold it all in as long as possible. T then unleashes a stinky plume, causing all enemies in the area to suffer magic damage and become stunned for up to 2 seconds. The longer T holds in his funky fumes, the higher the damage and stun length dealt upon release. Pooty Poots can also be activated earlier simply by tapping the ability again during its duration. Pooty Poots is a core of...
And we are back once again for the Arena of Valor India Summer Championship. My name is Asarai, and of course here with me now is Riku. Of course, this tournament is presented by Tencent and produced by Tesseract. Now, we're going to be seeing our next match, and they have fixed their issues, so that's awesome. CapricieuX and Potatoes.
Yeah, CapricieuX versus Potatoes. It's going to be another interesting matchup because looking at their ranks in the Valor Co-op C3, it seems that CapricieuX ended up at rank 51. Meanwhile, Potatoes is top 19 in their Valor Co-op C3 spot. So definitely CapricieuX is the underdog in this matchup. So I kind of wonder how that's going to pan out because looking at the night or tonight, in terms of the results, it has been a 2-0 so far.
And of course, for the lineup of CapricieuX, for the offlane, we have Raged. Mage is Inferno. Marksman is Ivirus. And Juggler's Noobs for life, and Observer is gonna be expandable.
Yeah, someone's super hyper. But moving on to Potatoes, they have been at the 10th place for the TS Arena of Valor tournament previously. But looking at their roster, you got Kia on their offlaner, Kamikaze as their mage, Naga Batman for marksman, and Nifio Rio on their jungler position, and Nifio Rio and Disarray for their observer position. So again, Potatoes has that advantage aside from their rank in their Valor Cup C3 run. It's also the tournament experience that they have acquired previously.
And again, what these teams bring to the table is, well, something that you don't really see too much. Like they have brought possibly a lot of percentage already of the hero pool in Arena of Valor, from our first best of 3 to our second best of 3. And I think the other casters were also, I think it was Luxuria and Iris Duel who told me that, you know, this is a match that you should be looking forward to, because this is a match wherein Potatoes has the clear-cut advantage in terms of the rankings from the previous tournament, but CapricieuX, on the other hand, is a possible dark horse here, an underdog, but maybe, you know, flip up his mask, James Bond. Mission Impossible, that Ethan Hunt that, and turn that underdog into a horse. We'll see. And once again, we are in version 14, so we might see these compositions heavily again go for that one marksman than all assassin.
We've seen a lot of variety from their drafting and from their picks. It's mostly a combination of meta heroes and then their comfort picks as well whenever they try to climb the rank ladder. But just as you mentioned, that anything can happen, and they're kind of like the underdogs in the tournament, but at the same time they have defeated the team INA, who scored the top 14 spot in the tournament. So going up against a top 19 team, this seems to be one of those stories that maybe they can turn things around, even though they're ranked 51 at the moment, so anything can happen here.
Well, transitive property. If I beat rank 14, then I can beat rank 19, and we are into our game, or our first game draft, and CapricieuX will be the one to bring something, or rather to take something away from the table, and it's going to be a Lindis.
Interesting. We don't see a Lindis band every day. It's most likely either Superman, Murad, or maybe a Zephys. That just leaves a first pick Zephys on the side of CapricieuX. If they do want that on their side, never mind. They're gonna select a Mira jungle instead.
Mira, definitely something that is gonna be, I mean, for my perspective, from what I feel, he's gonna be someone who kind of is very difficult to counterpick here. So they need something to at least like try to push him out of his comfort zone. And in a case that could be this Morin and the Senyo, which I haven't seen really used, especially, or rather from that first game or from that first series. But you know, if you can use it properly, he is a total beast of a split pusher. Great with that response because of his ultimate. And CapricieuX, with that in mind, have an Alice to kind of like, you know, put the tether on him or something.
Exactly. Senyo really good in surprising enemy squads. You reach that level 4, then I'm going for my Angelic Splendor 4v5 situation, or maybe a jungle invade of a 3-man squad, and then I'll make it instantly into a 4v2 or 3 situation. We're not quite sure, it depends. But Preda and Alice, I really love this pick. You can see where CapricieuX, where their priorities are going to be, and I really like the damage distribution here. We've got Preda for the good wave clear, scaling good into the later phase of the game, good burst potential from the Murad, Joker for the late game as well. So I'm really liking their selection. Potatoes, on the other hand, we've seen the typical, we've seen Diao Chen as well, but it worked with Graf previously, so it all depends on what their strategies are going to be.
And a Zuka to boot as well, to kind of like put that final touch on their composition. Haven't really seen Zuka in quite a while as well, but I believe that he is kind of more of that hero that revolves or literally just rolls around and kind of like pushes everybody into an awkward position, meaning that he's just a disruptor, and that might actually be a good thing here, because if you see the composition of their opponent, which is Capricious, they kind of rely on really good positioning. You know, having a Joker not being in a vulnerable spot, having that Murat in the prime spot to actually use his temporal turbulence, and Azuka might actually be that wrench in the gears here, so to speak, you know, for them to kind of maybe have that advantage.
Yeah, I assume maybe Zuka is a really good side lane as well. Morin, on the other hand, very good CC as well as damage of his movement speed, just so that he can try to land as much auto attacks as he can once he just tries to lock in into that target. At the same time, we've seen Morin being used at series number 1, and it worked wonders for them, but that was paired with a Superman. This time around, let's see how it's gonna pan well with a different pair of side laners for the side of what do you call this?
Capricious?
Capricious, the opposite.
Potatoes.
Potatoes. How can I forget a team about potatoes?
Are you a potato fan?
I love French fries.
Possibly. How about like mashed potatoes?
That's your thing.
I think.
But we will find out if they're going to fries or mashed potatoes.
Or baked potatoes or fried potatoes.
Okay, the potato thing. But anyway.
Hash browns. Yes, thank you, Duo. I request a duo for that. I totally forgot about hash browns. Definitely a good dish there. So let's see if Capricious can, you know, bake some potatoes, or will we see potatoes hash brown it?
Alrighty then,
Yeah.
Asterai. But correct me if I'm wrong. Was that an illusion?
No, I believe it was a Diao-chan.
Diao-chan, right? Diao-chan. So I'm really looking forward to the sneaky ults from Diao-chan, but we'll have to see how this level 1 is gonna pan out. Again, this match number 3 between Capricious and Potatoes.
And Capricious and Potatoes start up strong as we see the Potato Squadron here going in for an offensive invade on the jungle, getting away that Sage Golem, not giving it a possibility to give it to maybe the jungler or even this Preda played by Inferno. On the other hand, Rage is going to be just pushing themselves out, get that little nice bit of shield. But with this type of strategy, you gotta remember that 4-5 man invade, if you don't put them back quickly into the lane, you're basically giving 3 XP for the one on the farthest lane, that being the Joker, who is already hit level 2, could even be close to level 3 right now, and you don't want that to happen. You give him that possibility to use the have more levels on his Killing Joke, or that Sinister Canister with his ultimate. It's gonna be really difficult. I'm pretty sure that's not the name of his ultimate, but I feel like it's a really nice
it has a nice ring to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We're gonna be seeing a Zuka top, a Zuka DS lane, and a Sentinel bot side. So that matchup might be a little bit tough, because we're gonna be against the Joker. Not much pressure gonna be applied, as you can easily clear down the waves. Joker has some poke, so I assume Killer Guy might have a little bit of trouble. So example, if you have like 1/4 HP Sentinel, it's gonna be risky to use the Angelic Splendor to TP and save someone else. It's gonna be an easy cleanup if ever. So I'm guessing Potatoes might think twice for that kind of aggressive rotation, or a counterplay rather. But as you can see, I really like the Alice pick here, Capricious, as it enables a lot of safety. Good counterplay for the Hissy Fit.
Face check. Oh my goodness, he's gonna get caught up here, and he gets the first blood. Or rather, he was the recipient of that first blood, as Lombard charges in and smacks him right into the face. Smack-a-dab-a-doo, as Abyssal Dragon will be taken. Not too shabby. I mean, regularly you see Abyssal Dragon 2 minutes in, 2 minutes and 30. Definitely a good timing there for Potatoes' rotation, so to speak.
Yeah, what a sneaky play from Potatoes there. Just going, just camping at the brush, just waiting for the observer to come down to the Joker and soak some experience as the wave goes by. So that was one of the things that, you know, Potatoes is so attentive to detail, and they completely just predicted the movements of Capricious, and they should really be careful next time, because the damage coming from Potatoes, as you can see, is just humongous already, especially on this Morin.
there are members of Potatoes who are already reaching level 6, as members of the Capricious are still having a struggle with getting to level 4, and that is Noobs for Life. On this Alice, he is still level 3, does not have that Hissifit ultimate of hers, so he really can't really be that much of a impact on team fights. And with this, you can see Potatoes' rotation kind of collapse more on the mid and the bottom, maybe looking for a pick here, while they're leaving the Malik on the top side. But for now, it's just a little bit on the chill spectrum here as we are waiting for these teams to go for that next objective. Could be the second Abyssal Dragon of the game, as it's going to be spawning in about 40-ish seconds.
Exactly. The thing about the Murad pick for Capricious, it's actually a little bit tough to execute, especially if Potatoes is a team that is constantly rotating. Normally, if I'm a Murad, one of the juiciest targets I could kill is the mid lane. Knowing Dao Chan is one of the squishiest among the composition of Potatoes, because of the constant rotation, it does not allow for the Murad to actually try to snowball off of the kills and allow the Preda to finish off targets.
Oh, double man knock up here coming in from Potatoes as they smack the life once again from Noobs for Life. Definitely gonna be your name if you don't change that. On the second hand, now they're gonna be seeing more kills as Capricious is, well, trickling rather into that fight, and they falter 4 straight kills for Potatoes here, and they can even get possibly an Abyssal Dragon that is gonna be quite juicy, quite fried, quite crispy for them, and quite free as well.
Yeah, the tough part about making your Joker as a side laner is that most of the time, if you constantly try to pressure a top side, you normally don't see the Joker try to make his rounds and commit. And because of the Sentinel ult, it just makes things so much easier. Without the Joker, you don't have a ranged consistent damage dealer, so it's gonna be difficult. You have the Preda. It's just it's super painful, but at the same time, it takes a while to set up the Spectre Plague, and with that charge time, there's so much things that you could do within a second, and within half a second rather, and that's what Potatoes is doing against Capricious at this point.
5-6 minutes into the game, we have 5 kills already, but now the Murad has come to the play. Goes for a little bit of that temporal turbulence, but doesn't really do as much damage as you would want him to be. I feel like it's just because they didn't get the kills that they wanted to. Now Abyssal Dragon is going to be a next objective here for Capricious, or rather for Potatoes. But on the other side, our blue team here is going to be going for the contest, or rather for our red team, and Capricious will go for that contest. They have Expendables going once again, or Expandable going once again with that ultimate of his. You started off, but it's really not going to matter for the meantime. Abyssal Dragon is going to be low on HP right here, right now, as it's going to be, well, again, Capricious is on the sidelines, but it's going to go for the reset, and nothing's going to be for the wiser. They're going to be backing off here because Capricious Zuka, on the other hand, has decimated the top tier 1 on the top side, and he might actually get a tier 2 if Capricious does not rotate for that, leaving Potatoes with the possibility of an easier Abyssal Dragon here. They catch up the Predator right now, but it seems like he's going to be all fine and dandy. Loops for life coming in. Might uses his feet right there, just to put a little bit of crowd control. There's the Slamma-Jamma coming in from Disarray, but it doesn't connect onto anybody, as here we go. There's the damage coming in from the Murad. Takes a good chunk from the side here of Potatoes, but they're going to be backing off. Rage with the ultimate, but it seems like this is just a bit of poke at the choke by these teams.
Yeah, doing a good job here. Temporal Turbulence being used, but just to leave a couple of hurt on the side of Potatoes. But I really like this matchup because they're so smart in choosing their battles, knowing the fact that, okay, we've already consumed some of our key ultimates to make our composition work. It's time to go back. One thing I noticed that they're supposed to take the Abyssal Dragon for themselves, but because of what they just did of resetting, I feel like that was a minor setback. They seem to be committed to this fight.
That's, yeah. The staff smash by Bazooka there. Oh, Expandable! Being pincered in as they go left and right. Slamma-Jamma comes in from Rage with that ultimate on the Malik, but it's really not going to be enough as members of Potatoes just go in left and right, up and down. They get themselves kill after kill after kill, resulting in a 4K, with Rage being the last guy remaining here, but he's going to do once again what a Malik does and hug his freaking turret all day long, but that might have just given a clean ace for Potatoes here. They can even transition into a Abyssal Dragon or maybe, you know, a couple more turrets, but Zenial will at least be a collateral, but still, instant replay.
I think the mistake here was Murad practically tanked most of the damage from the Abyssal Dragon. So once everybody just collapses from Potatoes, or rather Capricious, it's their time to shine. It was so difficult. Oh, I was right. It was actually Potatoes. So it was really hard to actually come back from that, and it was just an insta -1 person from the side of Capricious. So at that point, Potatoes had the advantage. All they had to do was power dive this Mala, and they get a kill, additional gold in their pockets, as well as an additional objective, which was the tier 1 tower down below.
Oh my goodness, I just had a epiphany of why they went for the Zuka. Like, imagine this, guys. Zuka is like Po from Kung Fu Panda, and he does the word, you know, skadoosh. But because their team is called Potatoes, he now says whenever he goes in and slams people, Spadao.
Oh my word! Never have I thought of that, ever.
This is why they're winning, because, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that, Atsura. Your brain is a whole new level. Pandemonium. But anyway, going back though, I thought you were actually gonna bring up the combo of Skyfall and the Zenial ultimate, just so that everybody's in that circle. But I guess it's not as explosive as a Mala and a Zenial going down on a team. But you know, they got the Dark Slayer all ready for as a main objective, or a very strong objective, just to push with their lead even more. And as you see, it's so difficult. They do have the wave clear though. That's one thing for Capricious, to try to slow the game down.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's still tier 2 towers here, so they can use that as cannon fodder so that they can break as much time as possible from this Dark Slayer. But at the end of the day, this is still gold into the pockets of Potatoes, and they can delay as long as they would want to. But as they keep losing, you know, their towers or their turrets, and they keep losing control of their jungles, the less and less that they will be having their gold income. And this is just going to put them in a very, very sticky situation, where in the fights that they would be deciding to go for are going to be less and less. And now it seems like they're going to be using that move to full effect once again. But at the end of the day, it's just a Murad poke. It's not going to be enough to be followed through. The Balak has already used his ultimate there, and you can see the fear in his eyes. He does not want to be in the middle of that Spadao or that Potato squad.
Exactly. And one of the things, I suppose, the reason why they broke down into different mini squads is because, okay, one of the difficult things to actually finish is the high ground towers. But at this point, Kamikaze's super low.
Ooh, Echo Slamma Jamma coming in from this Lumbar as he knocks a killer guy. I mean, I would have preferred the Might guy going for that little Naruto, but you know what? He wants to get some kills. He wants to get into that action. You know what? He's going to get a double kill, and at the same time, he's going to be that forefront, that vanguard here for Potatoes as he goes and spearheads the breakage of this first tier 3 tower, and he even slams down into the face of the Preda, forcing him to back off into the base. The Zuka here, on the other hand, has been busy on the other side of the map as he was going for split push, putting that lane equilibrium into the favor here of Potatoes on all lanes. And as you can see, slowly but surely, Capricious is losing ground.
That is correct. At this point, though, we see that it's a 12-minute game so far, 10k gold lead, and Potatoes just keep pressing on with their lead, not allowing the Preda to escape at all. This is the go signal to just go dive, 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 and Capricious is gonna have a hard time.
Yeah, I mean, definitely with that dive emphasis of course, you can see that they are fearless right now. They know that there's nothing that Capricious can really do to kind of come back into this, and slowly but surely they're just chipping them one after the other. A really nice pick up there onto the bottom lane, or rather onto the top lane rather, as they just demolish members left and right. And it's going to be a huge team fight right there, as the Lumbar has already used his ultimate, and they are starting to work on that top tier 3. Gotta remember as well, because they lost their tower at the bottom side, there will be stronger minions pushing through there, so they have to worry about that bottom lane as well as the top lane being pushed in. And look at this, my goodness, the Zuka is just going in, you know, Kung Fu Panda style, smashing left and right with his Fists of Fury or his Staff of Justice, and a 4-man knockup comes in from this lumbar and sets up a nice explosion of follow-through from Potatoes as they go in, and they will be looking at that core pretty cleanly. And 30 minutes into this game, a GG for game number 1.
Incredible performance from Potatoes. I mean, that was just, well, not exactly flawless, 2 deaths, but at the same time, they did not give up any turret whatsoever. Most of the objectives went on their side. We see that the Zuka is their MVP on their squad, and he really wrecked faces on the last couple of minutes here on our game number 1, match number 3.
Yeah, 8-0. So no deaths to this guy, and I think he was 8-0 and 6. So basically a 80-90% kill participation. And we're back to the camera. Still, that was an insane I would say execution from Potatoes.
Yeah, but CapricieuX did a really good job trying to slow down the pace. I guess they were a little bit antsy sometimes. Normally, what you want to do if ever the opposition is so in the lead already, normally you want to fall back to the high ground turrets, and that's where you want to do the wave clear, do the pokes, and they do have that resource because you got the Preda, you got the Joker. But because of the composition as well, looking at the opposition, we have a lot of heavy diver, tanky heroes. And if you pair that with, Alice was there, correct?
Yes,
Alice was on the
Capricious. Yeah.
It might be a good counterplay as well. Once they dive in, then you activate the hissy fit. I suppose it was just really difficult because people could easily anticipate it, and if there's no follow-up, that might be a little bit to take advantage of the setup. The counterplay setup that you have managed to do whenever they make that sort of play. So it was just, I guess, too overwhelming already. 10, even more.
Yeah.
So that's just game number 1, though. They can still get back in this series. It's a best of 3 series, and all they have to do is try to maybe improve a little bit on execution and try to punish more during the early signs of aggression.
Yeah, although, I mean, it was also Potatoes who kind of invested on taking down that Alice at the very start. I mean, it could be planned. It could be, yes, they got lucky because Alice was way out of position on some of those game positionings first. And you saw that there was a point in time wherein I think all the members of Potatoes were 6 and above, while Capricious, on the other hand, was like level 5, level 4, and the Alice was level 3. So there was a huge point in time when you said that Hissipit would be a really good tempo changer there, or tempo control fight, that it really didn't happen again for those earlier stages because she couldn't find the levels.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the downsides of being an observer, I suppose. You roam too much. You have to make sure that you get the rewards so that you'll be able to level up. But if you don't, then you have to suffer and have to be level 1 below and not having your hissy fit for the counter plays. And there's also a few bits of mistakes there. But for example, the Murad was the one that tanking the Abyssal Dragon, and he's one of the main burst damage dealers on the side of so I guess that's something that they could repair in the next few games.
Yeah, definitely. Positioning is key for the Capricious squad. And speaking of which, let's get into our game number 2 draft. As well, I'm curious to see how Capricious will bring this back, yo. And the Potatoes again banning out that Superman, and Capricious not being the first pick right now, take away at the Murad, but this might actually open up, prime picks such as
Yes, maybe Zephys if that's their style. It will really depend, because I've been seeing a lot of teams and junglers that have different priorities. Okay, if I have the Sentinel, this would mean I would heavily rely on macro play, the numbers advantage, and try to get the opposing team to commit to a fight that they're not prepared for. And you see that different dynamic here on Potatoes squad. If some people like to prioritize for prioritize their deficits, then they're the team that prioritizes the Zennial. Astrid is a very popular side lane pick in, I don't know, Malaysia and Singapore. But for Thane is a very common observer, but at the same time, we haven't seen Thane in a while. It's mostly, what do you call this? It's mostly teamy on this side, but right now, Potatoes with the Mina and Manganga.
Isn't it Manganga?
I don't know.
I think it's Manganga. I don't know.
Manganga.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
It's fine.
Let's agree to one.
The Joker. No, it's not. We already have the Joker. The Clown. No. It's fine.
The hero name.
It's here. The hero name. Anyways, so this one is gonna. What is this?
Gilder and Atara. Interesting.
Capricious is basically saying we're gonna fight you as early as we can. 4-man fisted gonna go in and slam down in your face. And okay, that's fine and dandy. But Potatoes on the other hand will be playing a little bit of the keep away with the Manganga and this Mina as well, who can actually just hunt everybody in and kind of like, force everybody on her, while the other ones kind of, capitalize on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a very good mix of meta and then their own style of picks again, especially on the side of Capricious. I've never seen Gilder in a tournament before, and I'm so happy to see Gilder. Aside from that, Atara is also quite a second tier, B tier pick, I suppose. In other regions back then, when the rest of the heroes were added. But again, we're still wondering where's Wonder Woman in the Max and all this.
Actually,
but you know what? It's totally fine. It's all about playing to your strengths and seeing how that's gonna mesh well and overwhelm you with micro instead of macro. But that's gonna be a problem here. Zennial is one of the, I believe maybe it's one of their best picks, I suppose, that meshes well in strategy. So we'll have to see what they're gonna do this time around.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows, how it feels like Potatoes here has a much more fluid, versatile type of drafting, and as you can see from Capricious side, that they really want to bring in the fight. And I'm looking forward to see how they're going to be able to kind of like bring this type of composition to the table. Haven't really seen this before, but both of these teams, I'm kind of siding with them because they're using my favorite heroes in AoV. Guess.
What?
Mina and Tara.
Oh, right. I remember now.
Mina, because she has that awesome Tara. She was one of the first heroes that I ever really got accustomed to. She has a good amount of push power with that spin to win, and once you activate her ultimate, she actually can stay pretty dense into the fights while having such insane HP regen. And anyways, we are ready to get into the game. Will it be Potatoes bleeding this one out 2-0, or Capricious coming back with their composition?
Yeah, Maganga late game is just so hard to deal with. The DOT damage, the speed it provides quad as well. We've seen this pick being, it appeared actually during the Valor series at E3, so I guess it's one of those things I did mention. People wanna experiment on their mage picks this time at version 14, I believe. But we'll have to see as we are heading on to team number 2 at the Potatoes versus Capricious.
Potatoes, Capricious. I'm just kidding. In about a minute, the Abyssal Dragons should be a next objective here, as we are about to see these teams kind of rush through to their level 4s, if as much as possible. And okay, Zennial versus an Astrid. Astrid, you don't really see her that much because she's more that hero that doesn't really do that much damage, but it feels like she can at least be in the middle of it all because of her ultimate being able to swipe in a huge AoE arc at the same time during that be invincible. So you really won't be taking any damage, and yeah, it's just gonna be curious because we don't really see Astrid that much of it,
Yeah, but she was quite a popular pick during the Valor Cup for SGMY and PH back then, and her Dire Bill seems to deal a pretty good amount of damage, especially when she's low health. Also good for wave clear plus tower pressure. Abyssal Dragon being secured, no contestant whatsoever here. And we'll see as Rage just try to rotate, but again, Morin seals the deal here for the Abyssal Dragon take.
I'm kind of curious as to why we don't see Capricious kind of like forcing the issue with their all melee matchup, I believe.
Yes, that is correct.
Is Gilder melee? I think
He is as well.
Yeah.
He's good with the. Okay, go.
Yeah. So what happens here, this type of matchup will heavily go into Potatoes' hands if it goes into the late game, just because they have a dedicated mage who can be at the end of at the edge of the fight, pushing out all of these annoying AOE DOTs, and you also have more he's a marksman. I mean, here for Capricious, they're more of like just stay in your face, and if you can't really do that, it might just falter through.
Yeah, definitely. As you can see, a gank here on the Astrid, super low at this point. Disarray will follow through. Are you really needed at this point? Dire Blow getting charged in. Is it gonna be enough? Yes. And as she manages to try and escape, she falls back to the tower.
Oh.
It's gonna be blood, and Killer Guy will secure the kill.
King Murder Explosion. Not sure if anybody can actually understand what that reference was, but oh my goodness, Rage! Definitely, what are you going to be doing against that Zephys? Activate the ultimate, rock that heal, and just skadoodle away, but still, you can see that was a lot of commitment to the top, but no response from Capricious. And I'm not really looking, I didn't look at the map where that was happening, but it seems like they could have maybe have joined that fight, because there was a good chunk of time where in Potatoes' 3-man squad was underneath turret, and that might have been much more devastating against them if they had more people.
That is true. Another option that they could do is take away something way opposite from the map, so that probably maybe a Tara kill as well in exchange of a Sennial kill, or rather the Zephys that was staying at the bot side of the map. But because of that, Potatoes right now, Abyssal Dragon being taken down.
Who's gonna get it? It's gonna be the Moren, and would be the wiser. That pushback coming in from the Thane, and here we go, the jumbo combo, wombo combo coming in from Capricious as they kind of push out Potatoes there, and they are actually getting the kills right here, right now. 3 deaths already, and Capricious' composition is coming into fruition. Naga Batman trying to run away here underneath the turret, and well, at the end of the day, even though that was a really nice take on the Abyssal Dragon, too much emphasis was put upon it, and Capricious here on the other hand capitalized, and they swung, and they got a batter home run swing.
Exactly. The thing about Capricious's composition is that they're very high sustained, sort of high survivability composition. Everybody has some sort of either damage reduction, good CC, good control over 5v5 team fights, and the reason why you get an Irie with you, a Thane, and a Gilder with you is that when you put control CC, when I say control, I meant CC, that's the time you allow melee users or melee heroes to actually deal the damage. So if you combine CC and melee, it's just going to be devastating, because again, cleave is the deal. The cleave is what's painful at team fights when they're all clumped together, and if you combine that, it's just so painful.
So painful indeed. Oh my goodness, what happened? Now the Zenyo comes into the front line and absorbs all the damage, smack a Jamma into the middle of that face of that Thane, and Rage goes in a little bit too late to the party with the Ta'ara, and even with your heal, HP regen has nothing against that damage per second of the Manganga, as he just basically laughs like a clown, and you know what, he's pretty scary. 15,000, 16,000 to 12,000 of Capricious.
Yes, indeed. But Potatoes, again, for me, late game wise, as the game progresses, if Capricious does not throw this into a snowball, which is difficult because looking at the gold Now, it seems that Potatoes is getting all the gold that they need, but look at that. Who started the fight? And as you can see, Dire Blow being used, Sennial, Angelic Splendor being activated there. But I believe it was a 4v4 situation, but again, sustained as well on the side of Potatoes, and they managed to work it well. Managed to make it work rather, but at the same time we thought that okay, this melee composition is working based from the Abyssal Dragon contest earlier, but nope, it seems that the damage is being felt.
Hence the term of win condition. Ooh. Oof, oof, oof. You just saw the Fang just get exploded upon there. Ryu activated by the Irie, but at the end of the day, that's gonna be a wipeout, an ace, and only, I believe only the Maganga was the one who was taken away from the table. And with that in mind, Darkslayer is actually open for the taking here. So this Darkslayer can definitely be slain by Potatoes, but not counter-slain by CapricieuX.
Definitely. It's still a very, very difficult situation for CapricieuX. We did see them win that one team fight at the Abyssal Dragon side, but looking at the gold, if you look at the whole picture, it seems that Potatoes has everything in control. That's just one, you know, one lapse of probably a wrong micro decision perhaps during the team fight. That's why we didn't win, or maybe they got caught out in a very good setup for the CCs for CapricieuX. That's the reason why they lost earlier. But now that they have the Darkslayer, now that they've been winning each and every skirmish that they encounter, it seems that Potatoes has that edge, has that confidence to keep pushing on to their lead.
Oh, speaking of pushing on, it seems like CapricieuX will do the same thing right now as they spot out more and way out of position there, but you gotta remember that this Xennial is here, is now with his ultimate, so he can definitely just go in and respond to that. Ta'ara goes in a little bit too wild with the hammer there, spins to win, but they lost the bottom tier 2 and a fight ensues as Expendable is trying to run away here, but he's not gonna be able to as this. And 4 members of CapricieuX will be here and alive, but at the same time, Darkslayer buff is still in the hands of Potatoes as they are looking hard sight onto that mid-tier 3 and maybe a straight push into the core.
And Darkslayer buff still back online. News from Live just dives into 4 people, 5 people rather, and it's not going to be enough as slowly CapricieuX just falls down like dominoes, and there we go. Congratulations, GGWP. It's a 2-0 for Potatoes.
And we have seen games here be a bit too one-sided, but with, in this case, Potatoes felt a little bit more unpolished as, you know, their opponents, CapricieuX, really gave them some difficulties on the earlier stages. They had a plan in mind. They had a certain win condition, but they were only able to execute it once.
Yeah, once during the Abyssal Dragon take.
Yeah.
They did a pretty good job. Probably trying to slow the game down and probably trying to get some consolation prizes whenever what do you call this? Whenever Potatoes wins a fight or takes something away from the map. But it doesn't change the fact that they don't have that range consistent damage dealer, burst mage, if you will. So we'll have to see. I mean, 2-0 for Potatoes.
Yeah. And, well, they reap what they sow, which was more potatoes.
Did you just giggle at your own pun?
I don't know.
Or wordplay or whatever? But yeah, that was an interesting match. Game number 1, it seemed to me that everybody was on the same page in terms of picks. But game number 2, it was just like a do or die sort of draft from CapricieuX,
yeah.
and it didn't work out so well. It only worked once in that team fight, but still, it's all about your item spikes, your power spikes, and as the game progressed, it didn't seem like they were catching up gold-wise.
Yeah, and I guess what they kind of planned in mind for here was that the composition might have been, you know, okay, guys, we're gonna be going hard, and then immediately as we kind of set up, because we have the Gilder here, line up a good amount of crowd control for us with the stun, follow up by the Thane, he lines it up, and then we just drop everything in with all of the people catch up there. And they only did this, again, great on that Abyssal Dragon fight. After that, there was just too much spacing on any of the lanes that they fought, that nothing that they can try to combo with that. There was another one near the Darkslayer area on the jungle side of CapricieuX, but they kind of went one after the other. They didn't time their executions properly, and they paid the ultimate price. On the other hand, Potatoes, all they had to do was wait for the time that they had their spikes, wait for the time that, you know, they can go for objectives freely and go for the picks, and they did this with good rotations and everything else. And I mean, it could have gone either way, but CapricieuX kind of felt a little bit more on the lackluster end of that.
Yeah, they kept farming. Again, you said they knew their power spikes, they know when to go in, and they contested heavily. On the top side of the map, they tried to shut down any sort of aggression, especially Astrid. We've seen a lot of Astrid at the top, the DS lane rather, and it didn't work out so well, especially with the composition that they managed to draft. But still, kudos to CapricieuX for putting up a good fight, especially at the Abyssal Dragon.
Yeah, and to Potatoes, who, you know, really showed us that they are a team that has a good enough hero, a good hero, might even be a large hero as we get deeper and deeper into this game, or into this tournament rather. And you gotta remember, guys, that this is just day number 1, round of 32. We still have plenty more, like 3 days to go. And as we do finish our match number, we are looking for our final game of the night. And as we are preparing to go into our break, the next match will be ExDee Gaming versus SPTX. So to cast that later will be, I believe, actually it's still me and Luxuria. And Enrico here is smiling super intensely. Like,
intently or intensely?
Both could be.
I don't know, man. But team already, so a very dominating team in the Arena of Valor Indian scene.
Oh, I will take your word for it. And yes, and again, guys, this is the Arena of Valor Indie Summer Championship presented by Tencent and produced by Tesseract. My name is Astray. Here with me now is Riku, and we are going to be taking a short break, so don't go away.
Hi everyone. In this episode, we're going to introduce Tel Anas. Tel Anas is a marksman who doesn't have any particular movement abilities, and thus she relies on her teammates for protection. At the same time, her attack damage will get a boost when she is beside her teammates, and so team engagements are her strong point. Her very long range allows her to provide heavy firepower support from the rear. Of course, Tel Anas' most fearsome skill is her control powers. Once an enemy has been affixed by Tel Anas, then they basically won't get the chance to escape. Ability introduction. Passive. The Morningstar passive. Her attack power is increased by 10% when in the presence of nearby allied heroes. Friends, be sure to act together with your allies, as fighting lone battles is not the way of fragile marksmen. First ability. Eagle Eye passive. Every normal attack will have an attached slowdown effect, which can be stacked up to 5 times. Active, it will greatly enhance her range, boost her attack speed, and her normal attack will carry additional magic damage. It will also stack another slowdown nerf on the target of the attack. The main feature of her first ability is that it will give Tel Anas a strong advantage when up against multiple enemy marksmen, and is particularly useful for taking down towers. Let me share a valuable piece of info with everyone. That is, that Tel Anas' attack range with her first ability exceeds even that of a tower. This means that Tel Anas can use her range to wear down the tower's HP effectively, and thus break into the enemy camp. Second ability, Penetrating Shot. Tel Anas will deal physical damage to enemies in a straight line, while reducing the enemy's movement speed for 2 seconds. Its damage will be lessened by 20% with every enemy it hits, down to a minimum of 40% damage. Note, you must make sure to release it after clearing out the enemy minions when in a battle, given the reduction in damage after the ability has struck multiple opponents. Otherwise, your second ability might be considered just a scratch from their perspective. Ultimate, Arrow of Chaos. Tel Anas fires out an Arrow of Chaos after quickly concentrating her energies. This arrow will deal more physical damage the further the enemy. In addition to throwing all enemies on its path backwards, it will also stun them for 1.25 seconds and increase her movement speed by 30%. Her ultimate has a super long-range stun and will typically enjoy two main use cases. The first is to throw out the ultimate to stun opponents in preparation for larger team engagement, but this will be quite a large test of the player's predictive powers. So when unsure of your accuracy, you can also choose its second primary technique, to fire the ultimate after your allies have controlled the enemy. They will have a 100% chance of hitting. As a marksman, Telenas can only really deal damage when she has some gear on her, and thus she should try to develop in her lane as much as possible. The bottom lane is shorter than the upper lane, and it is quite easy to reinforce the middle lane from there. Hence, it could be considered relatively more stable for Telenas in getting through the early game in a steady manner. In the same way, Telenas, after she reaches level 4 and gets her ultimate, can exert control with a leading shot from her ultimate, and work with her allies and try and take out the opponents in one wave. Once the kill is successful, then she will be able to quickly whittle down the enemy tower's HP. Telenas in the middle or late game is supported by her equipment, should be hanging around her teammates more often in larger engagements as most assassins she will be facing at this point will also have access to quite a complete set of gear. Traveling alone will not only put your allies into difficulties where they may be numerically outnumbered, but will also put you at risk of being taken out in isolation by enemy assassins. Flicker would be quite a decent choice for her, as Telenas herself does not have any special movement abilities. The Might Golem can dramatically boost Telenas's trapping abilities, hence it might be best to make sure that you have the red buff on you before team engagements, as, by the way, Telenas can use her second ability to harass the enemy before the battle begins. After it has started in earnest, it will be enough for her to activate her first ability directly and then lend firepower support from the rear. Thanks for watching this episode's hero introduction. See you next episode.
Hello, and welcome to Arena of Valor. Not satisfied with only watching the matches taking place in the 2018 World Cup? Well, this summer, you can get in the game with a new football mode featuring an all-new map, Fantasy Island. In football mode, you're no longer required to push lanes, destroy towers, or defeat enemies. That's right, you're being liberated from the traditional MOBA gameplay. These matches only last 4 minutes, so you can pick up your mobile device for a casual, fast, and thrilling AOV football match anytime, anywhere. Not only have we added a morale system to make the football experience feel more realistic, but we've also developed 3 new abilities just for this mode: kick, block, and gravity. The new kick ability is highly flexible. Not only can it be used to shoot, but it can also be used for passing, allowing you to coordinate with your teammates. The block ability can be used to stop the opposing team's offense on its tracks. As everyone knows, an impenetrable defense is key to victory. Even if you fall behind in this mode, there's no reason to be discouraged. The morale system provides the trailing team with more chances to cast Gravity, the new ultimate ability. We're using new technology in this mode that regardless of which team you're in, your own goal is always blue, and the opponent's goal is always red. So you never have to worry about kicking the ball in the wrong direction. We've also created a weather system for football mode that adds a new dimension to the AOV experience. Don't hold back. Let your imagination and creativity run wild with gameplay that can only be experienced on Fantasy Island. Unfortunately, ranged heroes will not be taking part in this mode. Their normal attacks would allow them to kick the ball from afar, confusing other players as to who kicked the ball and from where. The unique traits of each hero allow for endless team possibilities. Try out different combinations of heroes and experiment with what works best. We expect there are lots of undiscovered hero groupings just waiting to be found. Who knows? Maybe you'll invent a powerful team that's never been tried before and dominate the field. All heroes will retain their original abilities. However, in the name of sportsmanship, the damage caused by those abilities has been removed. Only their control effects remain. To prevent certain heroes from becoming too powerful in this mode, we've adjusted some of their movement speeds. We've also created football team skins for Valheim, Murad, Tulin, Zenial, and Max. A truly excellent player has more than just amazing skill. A truly excellent player is always prepared to take advantage of the unpredictable weather. Use the weather effects to improve your situation on the field. You might be surprised by the possible outcomes. Exciting, right? Round up some friends and prepare to experience the thrill of AOV's upcoming football mode.
Welcome to the hero spotlight of Max the Wonderkind. Enemies escaping? Not from Max. Max is great at chasing them down. Think you're safe from Max? Think again. Man's ultimate, Liftoff, can go through the enemy's team even if the target is on the other side. With Liftoff, no enemy running low can ever hope to escape from Max the Wonderkind. Recall interrupted. Passive static shock. Every time Max damages an enemy, the enemy gets shocked, causing them to suffer true damage every second and have their health regeneration reduced. Static shock can be used together with Tome of the Reaper or Curse of Death's Soul prison effect, as this shuts down heroes that can heal quickly, such as Tara and L'Oreal. First ability, Bionic Blender. Max spins his robot arms around, dealing physical damage to enemies. Every time he hits an enemy, his movement speed will be increased. Bionic Blender's movement speed boost can be stacked. There are two ways of doing this. First way involves hitting multiple targets at once to gain a huge speed boost, while the second way is to reduce Bionic Blender's cooldown through items such as Spear of Longinus, using Bionic Blender to hit the enemy again before Max loses the movement speed boost. Second ability, Smooth Moves. Max rushes towards his target and flips over them, landing on their opposite side. Once on the other side, Max activates a magnetic force field that reduces his...
Oh, sorry, I was the one who was gonna intro.
Oh, there we go.
Miscommunication there a little bit. Anyways, welcome to the Arena of Valor India Summer Championship, presented by Tencent and produced by Tesseract, the double T's, ooh la la. My name is Asarai, and here with me now is Riku, and you did hear the awesome voices of our other co-casters, Luxuria and I Request a Duel, and now we are ready to watch the final game between ExDee Gaming and SPTX.
Yeah, I think this is one of the most anticipated series, as ExDee Gaming. I feel like it's gonna be a fan favorite. They've been winning a lot of tournaments in India for Arena of Valor, and they're the most experienced, as well as they'll be representing India in the upcoming Asian Games, so that's pretty awesome.
Ooh. And they are also the winners of the TES Arena of Valor League. So these are some heavy-hitting... This is a heavy-hitting team.
Definitely.
Yes.
But on the other side of the spectrum, we have SPTX. They have secured their spot at top 33 at the Valor Cup C3 in their run from, I believe from June 1 for AOV India. So it's going to be pretty interesting. We did see a couple of series whereas the top 20 plus team has defeated the top 15 team. It does happen. Upsets are real in esports. But you know what? Let's take a look at our roster for today's series.
And for SPTX, we'll be having Insurgent on the offlaner role. For the mage role will be Blue Storm, Insane on the marksman, Fear on the jungler, and a recent drop with the Observer.
Yes, sirree. And for ExDee Gaming, we've got Cerberus as their offlaner, Dexter on the mage position, Kaz as their marksman, Pain on the jungler position, and Blastoise as their observer.
Wow. Gotta catch them all.
Yes, sirree.
Yes. All right. And now, as we finish telling you the names of these players, let us start looking at how they draft as we start our draft for game number 1. So let's get into the draft.
The thing about the drafting for AOV India is that they have different priorities. Obviously, sometimes their power players, key players rather, are probably on the jungle, probably on their top lane, or based on their strategy, maybe it's something more macro heavy. And the bans are different as well. Superman, super common. ExDee Gaming, on the other hand, bans the Raz, so that's going to be a respect ban on whoever their mid laner is.
Linda's first pick, you don't see that too common or too much every day. And ExDee Gaming here going for those prime picks, the Murad and the Joker, as that is a really nice poke combination there. Definitely something you can start off easy and then follow up with some tanks along the way. SPTX kind of going for that already with they have the Zephyrus for the dive and Crush as their utility fighter. You could actually also go maybe a carry build, but we have seen others just go and give him for that support role. Anyways, they don't go for the Zephyrus, they go for the Zen.
Interesting though, they were probably thinking about it, maybe might want to give up the Zephyrus. Zephyrus will not be picked anymore as they have the Murad already. Max, this is going to be our first time seeing a Max if they lock this in. But L'Oreal matchup, a L'Oreal pick as well. We've seen how powerful it is, especially during the later phases of the game. But it's all about coming online. It pairs well with the Murad on their jungle position. So I'm assuming there's a lot of mobility, a couple of easy bursts from the Murad, and then you can finish it off with a L'Oreal. But at the same time, looks like they get their Zephyrus, which would mean maybe Lindis could a side laner or perhaps maybe a jungle. It could be a different dynamic this time around, because sometimes we see Zephyrus on the side lane, but mostly you find him in the jungle.
So Maganga once again, and we're seeing here for
SPTX or ExDee Gaming?
I think it's SPTX. They're the one who went for the L'Oreal pick. We're gonna be seeing them kind of go for a triple carry type of deal here. They have hope with the Murad. They even have the Joker for the silent and then a L'Oreal as the mage. I mean, it seems like they're going for much of a squishy pick here. They were hovering over the Alice, but they immediately went for because I think they wanted to at least have that extra amount of tanky, or at least a tank with them with the Max as well.
Yes, I really love the Max pick on the side of SPTX. It's something that we haven't seen before in this tournament. We're still looking for Wonder Woman though, but again, it's basically depending on where their strength's at, where they're comfy at. But this time around, it's gonna be Max. I'm super interested to see one of the heavy hitting bruisers at the current meta of Arena of Valor, but at the same time, they have a lot of heavy damage dealers on their side as well. So a lot of balance of late game and consistent damage, but going over to how this is going to work, it's all about execution. Murad, we saw how it didn't work out so well in the previous series because you're not allowed to make those easy picks either under turret or during the laning phase, when the minions collide, when they reset rather. So it's all about how they're gonna make this work. If it does not, then Murad will have a hard time finding these stacks and actually maximizing the kit of the temporal turbulence. What's up, man?
I'm still like putting all just mulling over what happened in that drafting. It felt like it was, I mean, Lindis has a first pick there. That actually was what XPX I think built, but yeah. But
anyway, we're gonna find out who's gonna be the top team here for our fourth series. Let's hand it over to our casters, Asarai and Luxuria. Take it away, fam.
Hey, that was a weird intro because of how Asarai just looked away as if he wasn't part of it at all. But anyways, yes, in the first game of this final series of the day, we will be seeing SPTX going up against ExDee Gaming. And I mentioned earlier on on stream that I spoke to the players, and the players that I spoke to, they were from ExDee Gaming. And one thing that they told me was that I asked them, so what should we be looking out for from the set of ExDee Gaming? And Blastoise, as we all know, the observer of ExDee, told me in two very simple words: pure domination. So let's see if that will come through
Wow.
for the side of ExDee Gaming going up against SPTX, because, you know, Riku have said, you know, esports upsets are everywhere, and let's see if SPTX can actually bring something to the table.
That's actually kind of cool. Just like something out of the game here. They said pure domination, right? I actually just saw like the intro video for John Cena when he was debuting, you know, like way back, and he said to his opponent there, you know what? You know, there's two perfect words to define: ruthless aggression.
Oh, and then
Bring
for
it out,
XD Gaming, it's pure domination. And yes, true, we are not quite seeing the Wonder Woman, but at least we are seeing Max, the Wonder kind, right? A Wonder here and there, it's interchangeable, whatever it is.
Yeah. So for now, we are reaching that 2-minute mark, about to hit those level 4s for some of these players here, but it seems like XD Gaming are going to be pushing it immediately to the bat here as they spot out the Zephys, very low in HP, tries to dive in away, gets the shield, but the temporal turbulence coming in here from Dexter as he snipes him with the help from the L'Oreal, netting that first blood, and just in time for that big, juicy objective.
Yeah, big, juicy, and we do see Shiny. Shiny is the new guy in XD Gaming, rotating down all the way from the top side to help secure this Abyssal Dragon. And now they may just be looking for the gang onto Blue Storm. However, they will just clear up the lane and back off. So, you know, look at the team comments out.
Oh, jumping in and just goes with the snipe blast. It's going to be a total bro there as he absorbs the damage. Fresh Insurgent, on the other hand here, going to be at the wayside. Not really going to find an opponent there as they immediately back off. But as you can see, XD Gaming starting this off pretty dang strong with their rotations.
And this is how they've been. Have always been. You mentioned about a test Arena of Valor League that happened earlier on.
Yes.
That is held by Tesseract as well. And we saw XD Gaming just coming out so very strong. Oh, again, coming out on Kaz.
Kaz, well, if there ain't no stun, then, you know, just don't jump the gun. And he's going to be able to escape, porting back or recalling back to the base, and no kills will be had there. And yes, as you were saying about the TES Arena Valor.
Yep, so we saw XD Gaming just very dominating in that particular tournament itself. Almost for every single match they've been on, it's just clean. And here we see our favorite Masochist going in for a kill.
Ooh, look at that! So is just dropping down, no questions asked. As long as his teammate needed, he will slam the ground for you. And he just gives that exit path for Pain to get away, and the Masochist gets the kill there. Now there's going to be a little bit of a tussle here, 3v2 situation, propping that ultimate from the Zenial as Kaz goes in. They can actually go for a tower dive here, but they decide for the better. Don't want to go aggressive as they might actually mistake the damage output of this Joker. And Dexter actually joins in onto the fight. A level 5 L'Oreal here might not be the best as her opponents are level 7 and possibly above, but this Dragon has come back into the fray. Pain is here with that Murad, and he stacks up, goes with the Temporal Turbines, and look at this, the wipe of the cleanup, the police strategy wheel going in as the final blow comes in for the fight here. Bea goes just, trying to get that steal on the Abyssal Dragon, but it's not going to be enough, and he comes down with a 4-0 against XD Gaming, and they even get that second Abyssal Dragon.
And Juno, with Maganga on your team, usually you want to go in for those team fights, but here we see, having a Murad on XD Gaming, they really want to steer clear of that, right? They just want to pick off, they just want to pick someone out and then have the numbers advantage and then go in again. But here we see 2v1.
2v1 immediately goes into a 3-2, but they immediately go and mamba out the Kobe Bryant tactics here as they steal that Sage Gold, and you can really see how much control XD Gaming has. A quick replay of that previous fight. I mean, the Murad went in a little bit ballsy, but calculated ballsiness is what this game is all about. Getting those stacks up, gets the Temporal Turbines, the second one as well, just to make sure that nobody is able to escape, and the L'Oreal dips into the fight as a contingency plan if that does not work.
Yep, with Maganga on your team, you're really relying on that heal, on that burst of damage with your ultimate, after you stack it up to 5 poison count. However, Blue Storm just wasn't there at all, was busy clearing lane, and, with the team comp so concentrated on team fights,
Indeed, lots of fights happening. The Crash though in the mid, very low daylight. And he's not going to be able to do just that. Kaz and his friend will be trying to go for the chase down, and of course, no survivors.
Oh! I've been waiting for that. I've been waiting for the Wonderkind to just come in with that lift off and pick someone up. I mean, we saw that a lot. We've seen that a lot in trailers, and this is the first time I'm actually seeing it in the game itself. So very good play from ExDee game.
Oh, this is super early. 6, maybe a 7-minute Dark Slayer here. And just a quick question, Lucera. Did it made a tear drop from your eye when you saw that lift off, connect and get a kill? Yeah.
Tear? Oh, it was more than a tear. But I shall stop myself there. But here we see ExDee Gaming going back to their roots. I say roots with, quote unquote, because, for the Abyssal Dragon, that is normal, right? Going in for the moment it spawns, yes. But the Dark Slayer, they do that as well. But here we see a team fight may just be happening.
Team fight may be happening because they got the Dark Slayer, and it's not gonna... they won't not use that, and they immediately just go in aggressive. And what was that? Kaz right over the wall. You know what he says to Maganga? I am the real Joker in this game. Blah 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 blah. Batman is my nemesis, and he just goes in and kills the imposter, gets the kill, and into the bottom lane we go. Tier 3 is exposed here, and they're gonna be starting it up. Double man knock up with the Lombards, mashing it down, and well, they are pinching it, or rather chipping it down ever so slowly, but they immediately say to themselves, it's not worth the effort, let's go to tier 2, and they cannot defend that.
Ooh, Murad goes in with an ultimate, trying to find someone. Crashed very, very low, but will be backing off. And here we see, once again.
Oh!
Sad day. Good night and goodbye. And here we see, the high ground towers exposed, and ExDee, they are just pushing through. They are pushing in. They are really calculated when it comes to plays like this, and Fear trying to stop.
Yeah, Fear trying to stop him, or he's gonna try to do his best, but at the end of the day, that is a L'Oreal who has gone into over 9,000 with the power level and just goes zip and zap with the dashes. And look at this, 2 low targets, and this might be looking to be a GG already. Nope, they're not gonna go push just yet, as they are respecting here SPTX. There is a 14,000 gold lead, but of course, ever so surely they're gonna be approaching this cautiously whatsoever. But now, as that core and other members of SPTX are exposed and down for the count, we will be seeing not even a 9-minute win, an 8.59 second or minute win. Hallelujah.
Praise the Lord. I mean, there was nothing to say about that game at all. ExDee just played true, right? Or rather, Blastoise, true to their commitment to pure domination. Went in from minute 1, second 1, and just here, take a look at this short replay. They started struggling with this, bot side high ground tower, but it's not for long. When you see Murad just coming in with the temporal turbulence at the top side and constantly just bring them down. And this team fight itself, Fear went down without a fight whatsoever. I did say Fear tried to stop, but that was not working out at all.
Pain, he should actually suggest to Tencent, to make a skin for Murad that whenever you use your Temple of Turbulence, you just drop the mic. Because every time he does that, it feels like a mic drop moment already, Drop the mics.
Yeah, do you know why I call Pain my favorite masochist? It's because of the Chinese word in front, and it's love.
Alright, so, take a look, sir. We'll continue that conversation after we are... when we go to our game number 2, but hallelujah, praise the Lord.
That was amazing from ExDee. I mean, we expected a very dominant performance from ExDee Gaming based from their history, their their tournament runs from the previous months that they've did. And right now, having to score that top 1 seed from the Valor Code C3, it seems that they're so confident with whatever is being thrown at them. And one thing to note is that they're so sure, you know what, let's go take the Dark Slayer. It's totally fine. They're very fast in terms of decision making and as well as rotations and knowing, like, for example, certain small counters, if you will. For example, Maganga is so good when in terms of 5v5 fights, late game, mid to late game, I can help do the sustain for my team, and the shock debuff on Max actually lowers the heal regeneration for 3 seconds. So that's sort of the really small details that make things work in a micro level. Macro-wise, they've obviously done their job correctly as well. For ExDee Gaming, as they have continued on with their pressure, they never gave SPTX room to breathe at all. And, you know, that's the reason why ExDee Gaming is so impressive, and they really, really showed, you know, high-tier AOV esports action from India.
Yeah, and, well, this is why they're the ones to kind of, you know, represent India in this upcoming Asian Games. But don't put out of the equation SBTX just yet. I mean, they kind of had something there in game number 1, but I think it was still a little bit lackluster. Although this is a best of 3 single elimination, they have one more chance. Match point already here. Can they bring it back on game number 2 as they go against, you know, our arguably top 1 team in the India scene? That's going to be a tall task, but I feel like if they can find a composition that doesn't, I mean, maybe it strays away from that first one, something a bit more offensive, but at the same time has good amount of hope, maybe. I mean, they did have the list, but I feel like it was a little bit, you know, not enough.
Yeah, I think it was really hard, because one of the good things, one of the things that instantly come to mind if I want to counter an aggressive team is a really good composition that is good for punish. When I want to punish, I want more CC, I want good burst damage, because once they try to commit, most of the time just try to CC and do a counter play. So it's one of those things that perhaps Wonder Woman, maybe you did the cough for me.
Oh, sorry, I was really coughing.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, it was just right timing. So I guess Superman, obviously, we will not see Superman in the field anymore. I do wonder, maybe we didn't see an Alice, right? There was no Alice whatsoever.
For last game?
Yes, previous game.
Yeah, there wasn't.
There wasn't an Alice. Most of the time, it's really good for heavy diver compositions, because you place the hissy fit in, and then it's just, they're trapped. They can't, like, for example, Murad, he won't be able to retract from his previous position once he goes in. So a lot of choices for the side of SPTX as well. But then again, if that's the composition, that's your strength that you want to play, it's all about having to get that early advantage so that you have space to actually work it out. But now, because ExDee Gaming is a very experienced squad, it's one of those things that perhaps you have to out-rotate them or try to punish them when they try to make a rotation, or maybe take something else away from the map while they're doing something else at this portion. So there's it's more of the decision-making process as well when you're in the game. So we'll just have to see. It's still a best of 3 series. SPTX was, I believe, what spot were they on? They are at the 33rd spot at the Valor C3. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, aside from that, you were talking more about the in-game like aspects of how SPTX can go up against ExDee Gaming. But another thing that they might be able to do, all right, while we go into the draft for game number 2, is that I feel like during this draft right here, they didn't really put much emphasis on the hot picks for their first rotations. They went for Alentis, which might not be the best. I mean, maybe second rotation, third rotation, she would be, because you need something to answer for, like, you know, she has good utility, but as for first pick, not really what you want, right?
That is true, unless that is really their strength. If they do lock this in, Kriknak is a very good level 4 spike jungler here, which, oh my god, ExDee is doing, I believe they play this either the show matches or the TES Arena of Valor tournament back then. But now with seeing that, they still want to be stubborn. They're going to be picking up a Murad, but Joker being hovered. I wonder if that's going to be their final decision.
Because if they actually decide this, Ricknack is a great, I feel like a good answer to the Joker and to a certain extent the Murad there, because if you can understand where the Murad actually came from while he uses the temporal turbines, you can just basically dive in where he came from and burst him down. This is going to be pretty dang interesting on that perspective, and XD Gaming even puts more fuel into that damage output fire, having the Tel-Anas for a good amount of poke at the range and in-your-face poke ability here with the L'Oreal, but this is opening up SPTX to get the prime creme de la crop picks here with the Crush and the Zenyo.
Definitely. Again, as you can see, Tel-Anas really good range of side laner. But now they're just hovering, just eeny, miny, mowing that last pick here for XD Gaming. Max did work wonders for them. And meanwhile, they're choosing between Alice for their Observer and Teamy, but with the Alice pick. Meanwhile, lots of painful picks on the side of SPTX as well. Maganga already being used still. I'm really excited what their plan is. Crush is actually very effective pick. As you can see, he's settled with Disrupt. So I'm assuming dives just to try to eliminate, get a pick towards objectives, which is a possibility. And it works sort of like an Alice with the friendship once he hops in and just provides shield with everybody else. But that's when I believe when meta.
This, I mean, it just felt like it felt like at first that XD here were kind of baiting out some picks here for SPTX, but did they intentionally just gave all of these for me again? Just for me, I mean, could have a different opinion with this prime picks for SPTX because it looked like they had everything that XD Gaming had on the previous game, minus I guess the Crush and the Maganga. Yes. But still, having a Zenial, a Joker, and a Fred, those three El Clasico heroes definitely bring a lot to the table. You get just nice burst damage with the Joker. You get really good poke and mobility with the Murad from out of nowhere, and a Zenial for, you know, that global response.
Exactly, but we did mention the counters during post-game analysis at game number 1. Murad comes in, I'll put the hissy fit. Alice is on the opposite side. Heals the heal regeneration. I'm not sure how it works specifically, but for 3 seconds, the shock really reduces the heal regeneration. So perhaps the interaction also works with Maganga's utility when it comes to sustain with his teammates. But I'm really curious how this is going to pan out because you mentioned, I mean, Joker is still a very strong pick. Maganga in the right hands is very terrifying, especially when it reaches the late game. It's so painful, especially when you try to make these sieges, try to just pressure them under turret. It's so difficult. But you know what? We'll have to see the results for that, if it's going to be a 2-0 or are we heading to a game number 3. Let's pass it on to our casters, Asterai and Luxur.
Well, Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo, who's the best team of them all? Would it be XD or would it be SPTX? And this is the second round of this best of 3 and possibly the last round as well. So whose money are you on? Which team? Yeah, basically that, yeah.
I honestly, whenever I see a Kriknak, I always favor the particular team because if you see a good Kriknak player, you're basically gonna get exploded upon. And, well, I mean, XD Gaming seems like they're the team to kind of like bring that to the table, although it's pretty ballsy to see it on as a first pick rotation basis. So, well, for me, XD, but I'm not giving a huge advantage to them. SPTX has some really good picks.
Well, yep, I must agree with you. I mean, SPTX may just bring soccer into esports as well with those upsets that's happening. But you know, it's still a little too early to actually like say anything. I mean, we are still seeing Blue Storm on this Maganga. not a lot of impact, in that previous game itself, not, involved in team fights at all, really concentrated in that mid lane of his, trying to hold out that lane, and with just ExDee, I mean, just look at the constant rotation coming out from ExDee.
Yeah, and they made it entirely sure that once they hit that 2-minute mark, or at least when the Zenial is about to hit level, they already have a 4-body rotation, like you said, going immediately down for that Abyssal Dragon. And this just shows how XD Gaming, kind of gravitate towards the big objectives. And SPTX, on the other hand, they're kind of, I guess, trying to counter that. Oh, sorry, it was a Zenial is on the SPTX side, so that's my bad. But at least they're kind of going before he hits level 4, so that, there's no response for SPTX.
Yep, I mean, no response whatsoever. We saw the Abyssal Dragon before he could crawl out from his pit, and bam, taken already. And although Fear and Insurgent was there, they just did nothing at all. I mean, they did go and take a look-see, but that is about what they do. But anyways, we are seeing, once again, XD Gaming with that rotation into the mid lane and slowly but surely going into that top as well. But like you mentioned, they gravitate towards the big objectives, and that is really how they snowball throughout all the games, if you actually realize. And that's how cleanly they play, because we know that in the test arena of Valor League, we didn't see a lot of kills coming out from the side of XD. Instead, we saw them just going for objectives after another one by recent drop.
Ooh, can you feel it? Because they are just making feel all of that damage. 4-man collapse. I mean, at one point, they're basically, strolling around the field of Arena of Valor, feeling the grass, feeling the jungle camp, and then BAM! XD Gaming comes in with the 4-man.
Oh, Blue Storm putting in work with that poison bomb, that ultimate BAM, and basically QuickNet goes down. So Cerberus goes down there, cast in response to this tower being taken by Fear and Insurgent, but may just have to back off, or maybe not. And so we saw how XD actually rotated upwards, and now once again,
oh my goodness, the lift off, the blast off, but the Zenya there, pushback coming in from the crash. But here is the flank from our L'Oreal, although this is a bit more messy on the side, considering this is XD Gaming, but SPTX are nothing to be laughed about. They are approaching this with pure and utter good timings, but at the same time, Abyssal Dragon comes into the fray, and both of these teams are lacking in really strong but that's what I'm talking about. The mispositioning, the crick now goes in for the crack, and he just breaks back. My goodness, that Joker did not know what hit him, but these are very low HP members of XD, and if Insurgent can actually find a little bit of an opening here with Blue Storm on the Maganda, and the damage could be better, but the steal on the Abyssal Dragon is gonna be real, and, well, XD Gaming not getting the best out of that one.
Well, I mean, maybe this league should be changed to Arena of Valor World Cup 2018. Maybe I'm just putting it out there, right?
Wow,
if people, if you're listening, maybe give that a thought.
I haven't really watched, but yeah, I know the reference.
Yeah, it's okay. Don't
OMG.
have to, unless you're into upsets. But anyways. Okay, but anyways, we are seeing XD Gaming actually, pretty shaky in this particular game. Let's all admit it, right? They're not looking as strong as they were in the previous game, and it could possibly be just because of the picks, right? They gave away a lot of top picks to SPTX, and it's just down. I guess maybe they find that they have better micros, or macro plays compared to SPTX, and thus willing to give away those picks. But Riku did mention or bring up a very good point in that Blastfire is on this Alice, right? He's renowned for his Alice, and it's a very, very good counter as well.
True, having that, zone potential is definitely going to help you out, but Murad was not able to zone away from as the Honest has that much range, and into the middle of the fight they go. Fear gets the kill right here, right now. Zenial uses the ultimate there just for the help out, but here comes Max coming in from downtown with the lift off, smacks into the face of Fear and takes him down. No ultimate for the Crush right here as Dexter claims that kill, and we are seeing a exorbitant amount of pressure come out from ExDee here, as you call them shaky, but now they are shaking up their opponents for here. And are they gonna go for it?
No, I don't think so. I really don't think so. If they actually do go for the Dark Slayer, it would be questionable. But here we look at this replay once again. Dexter goes in quite deep, and then Cerberus just go in for Blue Storm with the Maganga, just causing so much issue. Fear waiting for the heal. Heal comes down, but we do see the Wonderkind comes in. And that is pretty much the end of the team fight, because it's just so much CC, so much control coming out from the side of ExDee Gaming. And here we see Blue Storm.
Oof, 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 as Blue Storm tries to run away, but man, this Storm has already passed, and he is being too much focused upon by ExDee. I mean, Maganga is good at, stacking up all these, stacks, but at the end of the day, if he can't really pin down his opponents, because every day, all day, just going in front of him, he can't really deal the damage, and nobody is there to peel for him, so it's not really a fun time.
Yeah, but it's not a fun time at all. And here we see Cerberus actually going in to steal the Sage buff Stage Golem away from the side of SPTX. So XD, they were shaky, but they are definitely coming back, right? I mean, they are definitely starting to work as a team. We are seeing that they have the gold lead now, close to 5k, 6k actually. Cerberus finding a recent drop.
Ooh. Alright, they're gonna go for it. Nope. Cerberus, though, is looking pretty dang good on that one. Shiny, on the other hand, is going to be heading to the bottom side to work on that tier 1. And this is actually kind of cool because Zenial can go with his ultimate, right? Global presence. Yeah. Max on the same spectrum can actually do the same thing with liftoff, even though it's not as fast as Zenial's ultimate. It still will allow him to join the fight anywhere as long as he can spot out his opponent, which is pretty cool.
Yep, and the thing about Max is that, when he lands, he has the basic attack to actually trigger the static, the passive, just so to reduce the healing for 3 seconds. And because he cannot reach there as fast, and he do not have the added healing and damage reduction, it may be difficult. But at the end of the day, Shiny Axe on Max just plays to its pros, to its strengths rather than the weaknesses, right? So he comes in, pick off, do the stun, land the CCs, land the healing reduction, and bam, he's good. The team is gold, and here we see Dark Slayer gets taken.
Mistakes were made. They were using Shiny, basically a punching bag here, making sure that if they see 2 or 3 people in the bottom side or in that Abyssal Dragon lane, they can go for a free Dark Slayer. And I don't know, this is some mistakes had by SPTX, but a little bit of mistakes on the side of XD as they lose the Alice. But was that really a mistake, as the Murad was the one recipient of that counter kill? Now Shiny spots out Fear here, but will he go for that lift off, follow up into his opponent right there? But it seems like that's not gonna happen. Abyssal Dragon is up and running here for the taking, as Shiny is setting up for some really devastating possible pushes in the bottom side. And a fight might ensue here.
Yep, and many fights. Actually, Blue Storm gets taken down really low. Crash goes in with the ultimate, but nothing much will be happening at this point in time. It's just a lot of trade going back and forth. Cerberus joining into the fight.
Oh, he wants it. You know he wants it. The pesky little bug. They don't care at all. I'm lost. That Max goes into the Max, gets the kill, double kill onto Blue Storm as well as Insurgent, and this opens up the possibility of that mid-tier 3. And is this gonna be it? Is this gonna be how our game number 2 for the final match of the day ends, or of the night ends? A 13-4 for XD Gaming and SPTX on the brink of destruction, but they actually come back into this Cerberus, looking to be a very juicy target there, but he is not without his thorns. Can maybe actually get him from that one, but look, sir, this is looking pretty grim for our SPTX boys here.
Yeah, I mean, they had it, right? We saw a team fight and they looked so close to actually being of, of a certain fight for the side of XD Gaming. But XD Gaming, the moment they got the things together, the moment they just played as a team and just gel and basically work well together, like the well-oiled machine that they are, and bam, it just suddenly SPTX just seems so grim, as in, the whole future for this game. But I do not count it out just yet. We saw a very close one early on today as well, and that was between that was between Infamous and let's see if I can actually remember it. Nope, I can't. It's between the Infamous game, right? Infamous lacked one player, and they brought it so very close. So with 5 players
VanQuish.
on the side of SPTX, maybe they could find something. I mean, they brought a team fight to XD Gaming once, and if they can actually execute it another time, they stand a chance.
Yeah, 11k gold lead though this time. So that's a huge gap of damage, items, and well,
Everything.
levels as well, everything basically. And that might actually just come into fruition right now as Fear drops dead in the middle of his own base. What can you do as they just falter down like dominoes, and the last man standing was insane. Is not going to be insane on that perspective as they give a quad kill to Kaz, and there you have it. Game number 2 goes into the hands of XD Gaming. Ladies and gentlemen, this best of 3 is kaput, like done deal.
And that was a pretty quick game, actually. I mean, not as quick as the first few series that we saw, but even then it was really convincing and dominating coming out from the side of XD Gaming. A quick look at the replay here. They are down to the last high ground tower, and Fear first to go down. And here we see Kaz just putting in so much damage from the back line. Crash wasn't even relevant at all. And here we see Insane coming out to try to save, try to find something, but no use whatsoever.
That was such an amazing performance again from XD as usual. They played to their strengths. They were the type that still, despite having an 11k gold lead, they still played it by the books, even though they had the opportunity to keep diving in and probably get a kill or two. They had room to be greedy, but there was only one instance, perhaps that was the max takeoff, but at the high ground turret. But at the same time, I felt like it was all according to plan because they just wanted to get that high ground turret destroyed already so that they could keep going and pushing on with their lead. So it's still a very impressive performance from XD, but at the same time for SPTX, they still held their ground for sure. It was just so difficult to get that Myriad going. Joker didn't have the space to actually enable him to grow and get the kills in. A lot of the composition from the side, a lot of the picks rather on the side of XD Gaming allowed such a squishy target to get dove upon, which is the Joker. And Tel Honest is a very, dominant laner with the ranged, if you will. So it's just good matchups everywhere for XD Gaming.
Yeah, and I don't know, for some reason it felt like XD Gaming was baiting SBTX there too. All right, we're gonna first pick a Cricknack here, and if you go for anything that is immobile, that is an assassin in the backline or a burst marksman on the backline, such as the Joker, you are playing with literal fire. And at the start, the Joker seems fine and dandy, good amount of damage. He was poking people out. He was having a nice time on the laning phase, but once it started to go to the fights, I'm chopping my hand here. They started dissecting the fight, and that Joker had no place there if the Cricknack was homed in, and also the Max, who could lift off and basically be a counters or an anti-Zenial ultimate. Like, if the Zenial can go into you to give you support, he will just go into you to
either finish off the target and try to dismantle you, try to catch you off. So with that said, it just shows that XD Gaming has a wide array of heroes to choose from, and they have different sort of strategies. They're able to execute them well, and it's just so it seems that they have an answer to everything, and it's one of those things where, okay, it's established that they are currently the #1 seed, the top team in India. They scored top 1 in the Valor Cup C3, and it's one of those questions where, as we progress through the tournament, who is going to make them believe? Which team will finally have the answer? Okay, this team, ExDee Gaming, has a weakness. And that's one of the exciting things I look forward into this tournament, because there's a clear top, but what's gonna make them falter?
Yeah, I mean, who's gonna have that, that kryptonite against ExDee Gaming, who are figurative supermen or superman for tonight, and maybe even tomorrow as we get deeper and deeper into this series. What can other teams bring to the table? Like you said, I'm super curious. Maybe we'll be seeing something along the lines of a team that has a polished Kilgroth or a polished Thresh, maybe. Even a comp that utilizes a Batman would be not too bad to spot out here. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for joining us right now for the first day of our Arena of Valor India Summer Championship. And again, we would like to thank again our presenter. This was presented by Tess and produced by Tesseract. Join us again tomorrow night for more Arena of Valor action. And once again, my name is Astor. Of course, here with me now is Riku. And special thanks to our co-casters, Luxuria and I Request a Duel, for joining us tonight. And see you tomorrow. And again, guys, have fun and just chill. Play your games. Get into that ranking, whatever. And see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
And try and pick up the kills necessary. Lori out, dodging out so much damage. Fuck the boss actually gets a trade off.